symptoms. Not an issue. Hello, everybody. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you people are on the lifeboat. Appreciate everybody coming on board. We're going to give it a chance for some more people to get on here, but it is that bat time, people. All right, everybody. Welcome to the lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. How are you people this evening? People, I have, let's see here. I have done some things. We're setting up a second screen. I can see that Anna's on there. Flaming Jackson. Who else have we got there? We've got Beth. Backdraft. People, we're getting here, huh? We're getting here. So I have the two screen thing. If you see me glance down here, you're going to find that that's exactly what I'm doing. Joanna, is that? Maybe not. That one went by a little quick. I can see Fiona in there. Fantastic. People, I am more excited than you could possibly imagine. I'm going to bring you up to speed on some inside baseball stuff to tell you a little bit about the boat. I got some emails today, 3 in particular, and I'm going to pick one at random. Well, it's not really random, but I'm going to pick Saigon Cinnamon. People, Saigon Cinnamon has a name. In spite of the fact that I renamed him once on another channel, the man's name is George Workman. And George is great. There's no other way to put it. This is just a great guy. And he sent an email and was talking about how happy he is to be on the ground floor of what's going on here. And he talked about how there had been people in the comments section the previous evening. That would have been on last night's live feed. And he talked about some of the questions that were coming up and how he was fighting to try to answer some questions for these people to basically to get them, clued in on the boat and exactly what's happening. He said, but it was difficult because so many other people were doing the exact same thing. Hold on. That probably is worthy of the participation trophy. I think it should probably be called the Anna, right? This is the Anna's participation trophy since she first came up with this as a concept. But this trophy goes to all of you in the entire crew that is stepping up to the plate and taking ownership of this boat. There's no other way to say it. Literally taking ownership of this boat. People, it warms my heart in ways that I can't even explain to you exactly how much this means to me. Now, that being said, the good news and the bad news. The good news is that last night we did the live feed. I have made it very clear what my goals are, right? Everybody here knows exactly what it is I'm trying to do with the lifeboat. Everybody knows the time frame that I'm shooting for with the lifeboat, right? There's nothing ambiguous about what we're doing here. I'm trying to get this thing monetized, and I'm trying to get it monetized as fast as possible so that we bring in YouTube as a partner, right, in what we're doing, which is ironic, right? Bring in some of the people that put out more negative than anything on the planet and get them to push us and the positive vessel that we are all over the world. That is the goal, people. And, we haven't been shy about that. In last night's live feed, the amount of, we usually take, baby steps. They're consistent. We're moving in the right direction toward that 4,000 hours. Last night, we took a leap. The amount of time that we added to that running total was just awesome. And it's because you people got on the live feed and you didn't leave. For the most part, the people that got on stuck around the entire time, which is really a testament to you and your patience. Because obviously last night was I was winging it. And in doing that, though, I think we got to know each other a little better. There were some great suggestions, some people who came up with the concept of the 2 screens. I've got a second one down here. Whether or not I am going to be smart enough to be able to do the 2 screen thing is something that we're going to find out, and we're going to find out probably a little bit sooner than later. I just saw Brittany Has Eyes. Thank you so much for showing up. All of you people, it means so much to me. It really does. Now, as to Mark Wages, Mark's daughter is still really going through it. That is not why Mark is not here. And in fact, Mark is here. He's probably in the He's on the deck of the boat with you all. Mark has spent since 2 o'clock today setting up the ability to do this interview, and YouTube simply is not having it. We could do it on his channel. I handed over the keys to the boat and literally let Mark take over so that he could try to get in and find out what I was doing wrong, because let's be honest, people, my skills lie in a very specific area, right? I'm okay at doing what I do. I'm really bad at doing other things. So he has been kind enough to step in and do what he does, and do what he does so well. Unfortunately, there's just nothing that can be done. He spent literally 4 or 5 hours today chasing down every single thing that could be wrong, and we're going to tap out, figuratively speaking. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, we are going to Wages World. So the entire boat is going on a field trip, and we are going to go over to Mark's channel. I'm still going to interview him, people, but I'm going to do it over on Wages World, which, it's different, but it's cool, right? We adapt. We don't lose our cool, which is, there's something to be said for that. Did I just see? Oh, that's Beth. So we're going to be heading over there as a crew, and we're going to watch the interview of Mark. So it will take place, but it will not take place on the boat. For whatever reason, YouTube is just simply not having it. And I'm talking about downloading different software. The number of things that we did to try to make this fly. Now, perhaps because as new as this channel is, there's still kinks that need to be worked out. If it was just me doing it, people, I would definitely blame the entire thing on me. But I literally went, here you go, bud, and handed the entire thing over to Mark, lock, stock, and smoke and barrels. And yet here we are, and we were not on a split screen. While Mark was doing this, I sat and spent about 7 hours today filming. So I got in front of the camera and I started to make videos. God forbid I get something that overtakes me again like the C17 plus 2 did, right? And find myself sort of debilitated. I don't want to be in a position ever again where we stop putting up content other than me laying in bed and moaning. I would like to be able to make sure that no matter what happens, that we're continuously putting out a product that people can come and listen to, that they can come and be in the comment section. People, it is so important when trying to get sober to do things consistently. And there are a lot of individuals who have already reached out to say that this is sort of the backbone of their sobriety, which is humbling, but it's also important. And I want to make sure that I don't do anything to let that down. So I spent hours filming videos and keeping those videos waiting for the day that we might need them. I am still going to be doing stuff every day and putting it up because I think it's important for me to continually be putting stuff out. This is, this boat is such a huge part of my life and such a huge part of my sobriety that it's not something that I'm ever going to be taking any time off from. I don't anticipate a day that I don't film. That will be Christmas, that will be Thanksgiving, and I will have people that say, you need to spend that time with your family. People, you are my family, right? This is really elevated itself to a point where this is far more than subscribers or fans or any of that. Those terms just simply don't apply. And you hear so many people who have jumped on the bandwagon of saying, my followers, my subscribers, they're not subs, they're family. I think it's a great concept. I love it when people say that. Whether or not it's the truth is something that I think everyone would have to answer for themselves. But here on this boat, boy, if this is not a family, then I'm not exactly sure what is. I mean, what defines family? If you define it by birth, then I guess that's one thing. But I have always said that when people say, you can't choose your family, I say, of course you can. Of course you can. I've been doing it for a long time. I recently saw Grizzly Heat Griffith's name go up there. That gentleman is my brother. There's no two ways about it. And I had a fantastic interview the other day with his daughter. People, in the very near future, I will be doing an interview. You're going, sure you are. No, we'll get this ironed out. And I'm going to be doing an interview with her. Her story is awesome. Absolutely awesome. She was in it, people. And She has not only come through unscathed, but has come through so much better a person. What she's doing with her life really is so similar to what I'm doing here, but she's doing it, one-on-one. She's actually meeting these people, and it's absolutely astounding the great stuff she's doing to leave this earth a better place than she found it. So she is going to be one of the people that I'm doing interviews. For those of you who emailed me to say that you're willing to have your stories out, people, I absolutely want every single one of them. No two ways about it. There's very, very few times where I think that there's somebody that I'm not going to interview. We probably saw maybe one example of that, where there was one individual who's, if your belief in how one gets sober and stays sober is as far away from my belief as East is from West, probably not going to interview you. But everybody here right now that's listening to the sound of my voice and looking at me, you people are on the same page, and anyone willing to tell that story, I'm absolutely willing to do that interview and then to post it up here. So there's a few more things that I'm going to get through, but then what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do question and answer. And the way that we are going to do this and make this work, people, is that when the time comes, I am going to tell my call screener, I'm going to tell my call screener to get on it. And I have a person who is going to be picking out questions, and the questions are going to be sent over to me. I will see them down on the screen. That way I can grab these questions, I can work through them and concentrate on what I do, which is answering these questions and sort of linking up one-on-one with you people. Also, if by some chance your question does not get answered and it is important to you, there are questions that, if you ask me my favorite color, or you ask me things about my past that you're more interested in because it's a curiosity thing, and no problem. There's nothing that's not, that's off the table. You guys can ask any questions you want. But if it's something that is really kind of pivotal to your sobriety or where you're at in life, and it does not get asked and answered tonight, email me, CaptainTommyScoville@gmail.com. Every time I get an email, and I get a lot of them, everybody without fail apologizes to me for sending me an email. It's done. And I know it's out of respect. Every email starts with, "I'm sorry, I know you're really busy and you must get 100 of these." People, this is what I want in life. Do you understand? When I say I'm lucky, people, this is what I want. I want to do this. This is a labor of love. It is a mission. It is a calling. It is what I want. So if you're sitting right there and you're getting ready to send an email and going, I don't know, I don't want to bother them. People bother me. Send me the email, because if it's important enough for it to get here where you think, boy, I wish that I could get the captain to answer this, then it's that important to me too. So don't be shy, please. If you've got a question that you need answered, send it to me. You can leave it in the comment section, but there are a lot of questions that might be too personal to put in the comment section, in which case just email me, CaptainTommyScoville@gmail.com. I know Fiona just put that up on the screen. I'm sure that she'll probably do it again because she's diligent. In spite of the consumption of Vegemite in her diet, she's still pretty sharp. So, we are going to open this up to question and answers. A couple of things that I wanted to go over before we did. People, we talked last night about some things, and I got some emails that were questions because of some of the things that I said. So we're going to go through those first. I got a lot of emails actually from people that said, "Are you really going to put some kind of a workout thing up there?" I'm certainly not going to become a workout channel, but I believe that for individuals whose weight has become such an issue that their health is threatened, it's very important that you get up and you start moving. It's very important that you start the process, right? And again, we're not talking about doing pull-ups and push-ups, but just getting out there and getting the ball rolling. And when I was 280-ish, right, pounds, I was in a prison cell that made this room look spacious. I literally could put my hands like this and touch the walls. So I was very limited in the amount of space that I had. And I had also recently had a stroke and had been walking with a cane. And then I got stabbed and I went to the segregated housing unit. It's what most people call the hole. Like in the movies, they talk about the guy that went to the hole. So I was in the hole and I was putting my hands on the wall to walk. I was in solitary confinement. So I was walking back and forth that way. And it started with some of the most basic of movements at all. What I was trying to do was build certain muscles enough so that I could then start actually trying to work out. One half of my body was in pretty bad shape from the stroke. And at that point, I was still dragging a toe when I walked. I was not in good shape, people. I was in pretty bad shape. So I would walk 3 paces. I would turn around. I would walk 3 paces back. I would walk 3 paces. I would turn around. So because it's only 12 feet. I'm telling you, people, that from the humblest beginnings, you can build your body into what you want. And there are people who need that. And I said last night, and I'll say again, when you look at somebody on the screen who's helping you work out and they look like a Greek god, it's very difficult to relate to that person. But I'm Captain Tommy. So if I were to put out a couple of things that, it's not going to be super advanced kind of stuff, people, but it's going to get the ball rolling for those people who have reached out and said, that's their biggest problem in life. Is there anything that I can do to help? I feel really jacked up if I don't do something to try to help with that. So I would say within the next 2 or 3 weeks, yes, there will be a playlist that is just about, getting some movement in your life. I did a video today, so I won't, do it again in its entirety here because I don't think that would be such a great thing. But about the physiology of sobriety. People, we walk around when we're addicted to drugs, we walk around like this. You know what I mean? Your head's down, your shoulders sort of roll forward. There is a big difference between confidence, right? And when you're just sort of beat down. And people, it's more than appearance. It's more than how people look at you and how people relate to you, right? Which is definitely a huge part of how you carry yourself. But way more important than that, people, if you roll your shoulders forward and you start to do this part of your body shrinks, right? It shrinks. And in doing so, you're not getting the amount of oxygen into your lungs that you need to. You understand the concept of the diaphragm, right? It's going to pull down and it's going to inflate. Well, if you jam all of that up, you're not getting full lungs full of air. And people, inside our body, where our lungs are, you have a tidal volume of air, right? That is the amount of air that simply doesn't move. Our lungs never completely deflate, right? When we go, there's still air in there. If there wasn't, the 2 walls of the lungs would touch, and that would be a bad thing, right? This is what happens when your lungs collapse. And if a lung collapses, that is not a good thing, people. Nothing good ever comes from that. So we have this tidal volume of air in there. That air needs to get swept out, and new stuff needs to get brought back in. And you're not doing that if you're slumped over. You're not doing that if your shoulders are rolled forward. And it translates far further down the line. Have you watched videos? Sorry about the squeaky chair. But have you watched videos where guys go, hey, what's up? So I'm Tommy. And people, if you sit and talk like this for 40 seconds, watch what it does. The physiology, watch what it does to your body. Watch what it does to your attitude. And then if you do the opposite, if you stand up, you sit up strong and you start breathing in and you talk a little bit faster and you talk a little bit louder. You don't have to be me. I talk way too loud. I also talk way too fast. But you know what happens when you do that? You bring in more oxygen in. You have to. It's the nature of how you're talking. And the more oxygen you start bringing into your body, you get excited. There's no way around it. And people, when you are more excited, a funny thing happens. People listen to you, right? Nobody, when they speak, wants not to be listened to, right? Don't most people would like, you would like for people to listen to you and maybe try to relate to you. So all of these things associated with your physiology are important. Now, if you are super unhappy with where you're at in terms of your weight and in terms of your life, then that's something that obviously needs to get worked on. So yes, in answer to that question, we will most assuredly be putting up something to just help people get a little momentum in their life so that they can start the process, and from there, we could point them in the direction of making, some decisions about what else they want to do with their life in terms of trying to get into better shape. But that was one of the questions that came up. I got 1 or 2 questions too about the captain's choice. People, once again, the captain's choice is just going to be a version of what was formerly called Tommy's Picks on another channel. It's me highlighting people who have left messages that are just too good to be relegated to the annals of history here in our comment section. These are things that I want to make sure that everybody that listens to the sound of my voice knows that somebody said, because there are things that are that important. Plain and simple. There are things that are that important. So that will be done once a week. It's going to be on Saturdays. That is the goal right now. Now, people, as once I get the 2 stripes, right, off of the COVID test and I just get 1 stripe, I'm going to be going back to work. And when that happens, obviously the schedule around here will change up a little bit. But the goal is that on my day off, Just like eating at Long John Silver's. Wages. So, yeah, on my day off, it may be different than Saturday, but my goal is to always do this on Saturday. Sort of the end of the week thing. And we will, I had a suggestion that apparently came from Mr. Charlie Mullins. Don't forget to tell somebody today that you love them, Charlie Mullins. And the suggestion was that opposed to a winner's circle, we could be sending people to the hammocks. I kind of like that as an idea. We'll see how it evolves, because it's your boat, right? I'm just the captain. It is most assuredly your boat. But I like that. And we're going to see how that goes going forward. So to reiterate, people, before we start opening this up to questions, yeah, we're going to do some workout stuff. And again, I'm going to sneak that video in. It's not going to be one of those things that I'm going to do in one of the 2 videos of the day. It's just going to be something that I bring on and I shoot it over to a playlist, so that for those of you who want to get up in the morning and you want to start moving and just starting to get your life back physically, there's going to be a place for you to go. Okay. And as for the Tommy's picks, so I don't forget, I'll take you. Okay. Yes, and Tommy's Picks, or the version of it, which we're going to call the Captain's Choice, is going to be on Saturdays. Okay, people? It's going to be on Saturdays. Now, before I open this up to questions, which I'm absolutely about to do, there's a couple of things that I want to go over, right? We have a great crew here. You guys don't say stupid things in the comment section. However, from time to time, people will say something that they don't realize might be stepping over a line. So I just want to go over a couple of things. Nobody's in trouble. It's nothing like that. You're not swabbing decks or having the captain angry. I'm just trying to protect all parties involved, right? If you have a question and the question says something to the effect of, I get high a lot with my girlfriend Karen, and I'm kind of wondering if we could, I don't want anybody in the comment section talking about somebody else's drug use. Do you understand? You could talk about your own drug use all the time. You could talk about bad habits that you do. You can say that, I used with my wife. But if it's one of those situations where your name up there is your name, it's not an avatar, and you start saying, my brother and I get high routinely, your brother really didn't give anybody permission for the world to hear that they're getting high. So in those situations, the people who are monitoring this very well might decide to axe that. It's not that you said anything wrong, per se. You didn't do anything to upset us, but we got to protect the people who aren't here. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you want to lay bare for the world, I respect that. As you people know, I haven't left a whole lot, that's a secret in my life. I've been pretty out in the open with the things that I've done and things of that nature, and I think that is important. What you can't do is tell us about somebody else's habits. We can't have that. So that's really the only one that that I want to make sure we stick with those rules. And then in the comments, the other 4 rules, people, we know this, right? We don't talk about politics, right? Don't beat on Joe Biden and don't beat on Donald Trump, so we can all get along. We don't talk about religion. That being said, when I say this is not a religious channel, right, so we keep religion off the table, what I'm saying is you're never going to hear me say, oh, well, all you Muslims are going to hell, and all you Buddhists are going to hell, and the only way you're going to get there is through Jesus or any of the other religions that somebody can pick. I've let you know what I believe, but I want this to be an inclusive vessel so that somebody doesn't go, boy, I like what they're doing. I wanted to get sober, but I'm a Muslim. Obviously, I'm not welcome there. That's just not going to fly. But the comments section is your comment section. And if you want to say, I'm praying for somebody, look, if you're offended because somebody said they're praying for you, you need to reevaluate. I'm sorry, people, for real. I mean, that's just, especially when people say, well, I don't believe in prayers, but you can send positive energy. Semantics at that point, right? If one person's prayer is another person's positive energy. So let's all get along, right? We can agree to that. No cursing. Pretty simple stuff. And rule number 4, people, the one that is making the boat famous, right? Rule number 4, everybody knows it. Mean people suck. So we're not going to have people who are belittling anyone on this boat, using descriptive terms that are not nice. None of that flies. And you're entitled to free speech anywhere in these United States of America, but not on this boat. You can say what you want as long as it's not hurting anyone else. And if you want to take a shot at me, I got thick skin, but don't do it to my crew. I won't have it. Okay? So Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my call screener, and my call screener knows who they are. So I'm going to ask my call screener to start to pick out some questions that I will then start to answer. And people, as I have said before, there's really nothing that is off the table in terms of questions. If there's something that is on your mind concerning sobriety, if there is something that I have said in a video at some point that you feel needs clarification, great. You can absolutely ask those questions. If there's something you want to know from my past, I mean, there's really nothing that is off the table. Now, I am not seeing my my call screener as yet, so let me see here. Bear with me 2 seconds, people. If necessary, what I'm going to do is read these off of the screen. It's kind of not the way I wanted to go, but he has a great question. Okay, people, where's my call screener? So, last night there was one comment last night too where I was talking about somebody who was being harassed. They were being harassed by a drug dealer in their life, who basically was calling and saying, "Hey, you know what? I would like to basically get you back into the life." And my advice was, people, start the rumor that you've been arrested. Let your drug dealer hear that you've been arrested. And somebody wanted me to expand on that. People, it's plain and simple. If a drug dealer thinks that you've just been arrested, they're not going to sell you drugs. Because in the United States, when somebody gets arrested, the police ask them, who did you get your dope from? Are you willing to wear a wire? Right? So all it takes, just start the rumor that, yes, in fact, you have been arrested, and I promise you that's going to stop. I had a question from Derek, and the question is, how long have I been sober? I quit doing drugs on the 26th of June, 2015. Was the day that I got stabbed, and from that day forward, I was in prison at the time. From that day forward, the only thing that I have done was Suboxone, and Suboxone I have used as a way to remain sober. I know that there are people out there that are going to say that's another drug. People, you're more than entitled to your opinion. Absolutely, you are. But I could sit here for the next hour and show you me eating 15 of those. There's no effect on a person who has opiate disorder, right? Opiate dependency disorder. What it does is it just coats the brainstem, and in doing so, it takes away the desire. There's no narcotic buzz. Now, very much like somebody who has ADHD, truly has ADHD, can take amphetamines and calm down, right? You really have to have opiate dependency disorder. 25 years of 6 grams, 7 grams a day heroin habit most assuredly got me to the point where I was a great candidate, and it's really been a godsend for me. And I didn't do it until recently. I had it with me from day one, because I knew there was a time coming where my entire life it has gotten to the point where something would come up and it would threaten the sobriety to the point where that voice inside of me would just scream, and I wasn't able to get through it. And when my father passed, amazingly, I got through it without drugs. It was probably the worst experience in my life, and I got through it also without Suboxone. But once I was on the channel and I was doing this every day, when number 5 died, number 5's death affected me in a way that I can't explain. Obviously, I was not as close with this person as I was with my father. In fact, while number 5 and I were really good friends, it was not. It just wasn't this. I can't explain it. We were friends, but the level of pain at her passing, maybe it's because it was just such a waste. My dad had a great full life, but seeing somebody cut down in their prime by the chemicals is just something that is so difficult to get through. Derek N also said Suboxone got me clean from dope, but he's ready to get off the subs now. You know what? There are people that really want to get off of Suboxone, and if it's something that you used just to get off of the drugs, there are 2 camps on Suboxone. There are people who are going to do it as a long-term therapy for the rest of their life. Much like somebody who has high blood pressure is going to treat high blood pressure with any number of statin drugs or anything else. There are people for whom Suboxone is going to be a lifetime answer. I can't answer the question whether or not you're that candidate or not. What I can tell you is this: people who designed Suboxone, it was invented by a guy. The drug itself, buprenorphine, was invented by a gentleman by the name of John Lewis. And he didn't invent it to be a treatment for anything. He invented it for it to be a drug for women that couldn't take morphine during pregnancy. He wanted something stronger than morphine that women could take, because if you're allergic to all morphine products, can you imagine how bad childbirth is, right? This is really kind of a difficult thing. So he was looking for the magic bullet for that. And what happened was, years later, they took this drug and synthesized it with Narcan, right? Which is the drug that you give to somebody who's overdosing. And the combination of the two became Suboxone. The doctors who put this together recommend that you stay on it for 5 years, okay? And the reason that they say that is they want your lifestyle to have been sober. And I mean nothing in your life, right? You're not experimenting, you're not doing anything else for 5 years. At that point, they suggest that you get off it. If you feel you're ready to do it now, email me at captaintommyscoville@gmail.com, and I will walk you through what the protocol is. I won't do it here because of the number of people here that don't necessarily need that information. But if you are someone who's trying to get off Suboxone, just email me. I can go through there. There's a protocol that works. And it's just simply a matter of you do it for X number of days, you stay on this, the next day you do that. It's one of those things that you really you want to do it according to Hoyle. And if you do it right, you're not going to feel anything. As far as withdrawal, you can do it with no withdrawals whatsoever. But depending on how long you've been on it, you can do a little research. I would recommend, honestly, getting a real solid base. If you feel that base is already there, God bless you. You send me the email and I'll walk you through the detox protocol for that substance. Be more than happy to do it. I also just got a question from someone that said, how do you deal with family members that don't understand about Suboxone? People, I'll tell you what, the world doesn't understand about Suboxone. It simply doesn't. And it's a difficult thing. I went through it. I absolutely went through it because there are so many people who believe that if you're putting anything into your body that you're using, you're getting high. For me, the added benefit for me was that if you knew me on heroin and then you saw me on Suboxone, it didn't require nearly the explanation that you would normally think. The beautiful thing about Suboxone is that when someone takes this, it is such a long-acting drug. So there's no point during the day where someone is, ready for that next one. And when I was addicted to heroin, people every 5 to 8 hours, if I didn't get the next shot or the next smoke or the next whatever, I was violent. I mean, I would tear a wall down. You could not do anything to keep me off the drug. So the science is really what's going to save you. If your family is not on board, then you really need to bring them someplace where they can read about this, because the science on Suboxone is bulletproof. You can argue with it, you can do whatever, but arguing with science is difficult. And when people see exactly what this substance is, you're going to find that your family will probably get on board faster than not. And when they see how much better this is for you in terms of what this means in terms of your sobriety, things go a lot better. George Workman, aka Saigon Cinnamon, has said, I still don't sleep well, and it's been 6 years. He's got so much going on, it just adds to it. In the past, I used before going to bed to get great sleep. I did too. In the past, that was one of my rituals, was that at the end of the day, I had a nightcap. Then that nightcap was so that I literally nodded myself to sleep. I have 6 years off heroin. I do not sleep right. And those people on the boat who are in my inner circle, there are people on this boat, there are some people that work with me very, very closely to help me stay organized, help me put things together so that this boat continues to go in the right direction. And most of them realize that if they have a thought at 3 a.m., they can get a hold of me, because more likely than not, I'm not asleep. Here's the thing, George. You're going to... it's either going to realign or it's not. There are a lot of natural remedies that people use to try to get some sleep. My gut says you've probably tried most of them, because those of us who suffer from insomnia usually are grasping at every straw that they can get their hands on. Melatonin works for some people. Here's been my experience. You've got melatonin, right, which is something that people like to take. Diphenhydramine, which is something people like to take. That comes in over-the-counter medication. There are 2 or 3 other over-the-counter medications now that they use for sleep. All of them work for about 2 days, right? If I take melatonin on the 3rd day, it doesn't do anything. So if I'm really in a place where I have to get sleep, I will take melatonin for a couple of days. I will take diphenhydramine for a day or 2. I try to not take any of these substances for more than 2 days ever. Not because you're going to get addicted to them and they're just not that kind of substance, but what will happen is they'll just stop working and then you're taking something for no reason. I have yet to find a non-pharmaceutical way that is going to keep you, sleeping. I wish I had a better answer for you, my brother, but I don't really think that it's out there right yet. I don't. Unless you want to go the route of taking a pharmaceutical. And if you do, I'm not going to, hold it against you by any stretch. But if you do, there are some that I would really, really run from. Any of the ones that mess with the brain chemicals themselves. And what I mean by that is like Elavil, drugs like this, where it's sort of like a reuptake inhibitor, where what it's going to do is use your natural chemicals and in a way to try to get you to sleep, right? So like amitriptyline or nortriptyline, I don't like these as a concept. For me, they leave me drugged. The next day, I don't feel high when I'm doing it, but the next day when I get up, I'm definitely debilitated. And the last thing in the world I want is to feel anything narcotic or anything that makes me feel dumb at this point in my life. I really don't want that. So my understanding is that everybody in the comment section is talking about insomnia. People, this is something that it touches the lives of everyone, especially within our little community. When you stop doing drugs, it is the last thing in your brain that is going to realign. Plain and simple. Your sleep patterns are going to take a beating. For me, people, the most important thing is that I need to be in a really good place in life, because the difference between insomnia when life is good and insomnia when life is bad is astounding. When I can't sleep now, I'm thinking about the boat. I'm thinking about things that I can do, about videos that I can do, and it's very easy for me to remain very positive during those times. If my life is not exactly where I want it to be, then when I can't sleep, you're usually not thinking about puppies and kittens. You're thinking about the worst things that that can take place in life, and that's tough. I would definitely talk to anybody. I would do some research. I would read, because there is so much literature out there for our particular ailment, and I would just say keep researching, because no one is going to find the magic bullet for everybody, but there are people who find what works for them, and I would say that research is your best friend. I will continue to do research, and I will bring up anytime I can find something that seems to help. I will bring it to the group, but yeah, it's a very difficult thing. What is the worst withdrawal that you know of? That is from Pepper Dojo. Oh, this is easy. The worst withdrawal, hands down, that I have ever been through, and everyone I know who's been in the life for any length of time with opiates will back me up on this. The worst ever is methadone, and for very, very scientific reasons. The reason methadone was used for treating opiate addiction is because the half-life of the drug is so much longer than anything on the planet that the concept is this. Let's say you take 100 milligrams of methadone on Monday. Half-life means how long does it take to turn into 50? Okay, with most drugs, that it's going to run somewhere in the 8 to 24-hour range. It's not even close with methadone. The following day, you still have about 80% of that in your system. So when you do that for 6 or 8 months, you have so much of it into your system that as you start to come off of it, the theory is that you don't notice that you're tapering down. The problem is, God forbid, you have to quit cold turkey. Instead of 72 hours after you quit, you being clean. And by clean, I mean it's no longer in your system. It doesn't work that way. With heroin, the 3rd day after you stop using, or OxyContin, or Vicodin, or any of the other opiates, 3 days after you stop using, there is none of it left in your system. It's going to be the worst day of the withdrawal, because all of a sudden there's nothing. It takes so long for methadone to completely leave your system that the entire time you feel sick. I got incarcerated doing 300 milligrams a day. And that was through a clinic. Believe it or not, had me up to doing 300 milligrams a day. And I was sick. I'm not making this up, people. I was sick for 6 months. 6 months. Now, the vomiting and the and the uncontrollable diarrhea, where you literally defecate yourself every time you cough, that kind of thing lasted probably 30 days. But it was a good 5 more months before I was getting anything that resembled normal sleep. And the muscle aches and the body aches. I remember going outside. I was leaving. When you first get in, you're in solitary for a period of time. And when I was going outside, and I hadn't been outside in so long. It was a beautiful day, and I took my shirt off. I was carrying the Foot Locker across the yard, and a guy came up to me and said, "Hey, man, I know I don't know you, no disrespect, but how did you get your stomach in that kind of shape?" And people, I hadn't seen a mirror in months, from vomiting, from dry heaving for literally hours a day. The withdrawal off of methadone is a nightmare of biblical proportion. It's amazing that anyone survives it. I'm not making that up. That is definitely the answer to that question. Mr. B. Silver, how do you deal with family who never believe you are sober and are expecting you to fail? Okay, this is an excellent question. Because here's the deal, people. We've all been through this, right? If your addiction is chemicals of any kind, alcohol, drugs, then you've been through exactly what this man is asking. Here's what you got to remember, right? And this is difficult. It really is. I struggled with this so hard. But they're going to doubt you, right? And the sad thing is, you earned it, right? I earned it. Won't put it on you. I'll put it on me. I earned it. And I knew that for the rest of my life, if somebody in the house was missing $20 bills out of their purse, there's a $20 bill missing, I took it. Right? That's it. There's no two ways about it. I will be the suspect. That's just how it's going to be. And it will rock their world. As long as I've been sober right now, if a C note ends up missing somewhere, it's going to rock everyone I love's world. Because they're going to think, oh Lord, it's happening. People, we caused that. We earned that. I did. Because I did this for decades. However, the only way that you can make that stop is by replacing the bad memories with good ones. For real. So for me, I was in California, and when I came back out here, and Ma Scoville said to me, "Yeah, I would have you in the backyard, but it looks awful." What? Backyard looks awful? Let me at it. Right? Let me at it. And I literally got to a point where my mom would come out and go, "Look, you got to stop. You got to stop working. You got to stop doing this. I'll put a new floor in." Like anything that I could do to assist the people who I hurt so badly, I do. And I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you that it's had two effects. Not only has it made them believe that this is going to stick this time. Well, and this doesn't hurt either, people, right? The fact that if your loved ones are watching you for a half an hour a night, or an hour a night, or whatever the case may be, come to a channel like this and sit and talk about sobriety, they probably aren't thinking you're getting high, right? So your behavior is going to dictate whether or not people believe you. It's going to be a struggle, but people are also used to the drug addict's first line of defense is what, right? What is the first line of defense? When we're accused of anything, we get indignant. It's how we've learned from a very young age as a drug addict that works. Hey, Tommy, no disrespect, but I kind of feel like maybe you're using the other night. You look like what? Huh? What are you saying? And that's what we did, right? We our dander got up, and we sort of started to get in people's faces because it was the first line of defense, right? If you just deny hard enough and you look indignant, oh, then that might just work. Now, if somebody says to me something, like that, hey, Tommy, you look like you're high, or you look different than the night before. That's when I sit down and go, really? Damn, I look like, what made you say that? Did I go to sleep early? Are you talking about something in the face of your days of being indignant? We lost that right. We lost that right. We can't get upset at people who say, you look like you're using. Man, we programmed them for how long to understand that when we're a little out of sorts, we're probably high. So you're going to have to overcome for years that when you're a little out of sorts, they're not going to go, oh, Tommy looks like maybe he's having a bad day. No, they're going to go, Tommy's getting high. Something's going on. What is he doing this time? After 25 years, people, I earned that. That's a badge that unfortunately I have to own. But if you just continue to create fantastic memories and put them in the place of the bad ones, you're going to be shocked how fast people come around and rally to your defense. I promise you. But that's one of those things that you just have to continue to do. I have a question from Johnny Scoville at Chase the Heat. And he said, hey, where's my wrench? I think he's making a reference to the fact that he thinks that maybe he should be allowed to be a monitor. Johnny, I really appreciate the question. I'm glad you're here. It's kind of interesting. You weren't here for a lot of videos, and we put it to a vote. And my hands are tied, bro. I'm the captain here. But we are a democracy, and unfortunately, the crew here voted that they didn't want to give you the wrench. And man, I'm not trying to bum you out or anything, but it wasn't even close. Like, I'll be really honest. You got 2 votes. You did. It's awful. You got 2 votes, and I wasn't one of them. Well, honestly, I can't give it to you right now, so I will try to ensure that I get you a wrench here in the very near future. For those of you who don't know, that would be my much older brother, and I mean older. You'll see though, he's got this thing going on, and it's all white. It's not a good look. It's not. It's awful. But yeah, your wrench is on the way. Honestly, we were trying to get you one that was gold plated, and that's a difficult thing to do. So it's coming. Don't worry about it. People, one of the things that before I go any further, I don't want to. If I bummed you out at all with that last answer, I don't want to. Sometimes people, I think about myself more than I think about others because I am. It's easier if I use me as an example, but oftentimes as I'm doing that, I will end up sounding harsh to the person that asked the question because I'm really thinking about me. I'm not thinking about you. And one of the things that, like that question in particular, I burned bridges, bro. I don't know your story. And I'm certainly not trying to offend you when I say, that you earned that. I earned that. And most addicts do. If your family has that feeling that they're really, really worried, then it's probably because we put a lot of time in making them worry. I hope I didn't hurt your feelings. I'm not beating on you. I'm beating on me. I'm really looking forward to Jack coming down here and doing the interview, people, because I have been so successful at the 2 pieces of paper that I talk about, right? You've got old Tommy, and then there's new Tommy, and I made the list of what I wanted new Tommy to be. I nailed it. I'm not bragging, people, but who you see is such a disconnect from who I was that it's going to be great when Jack can come down here and give you an idea of just who I was, people, because it's hard for me to wrap my brain around sometimes just how far I fell. For real, it was awful. So, Brandon Calloway, good Lord. My friend Brandon Calloway is on his 3rd day of being sober. People, my friend, 3rd day of being sober. God bless you, man. You are in the right place. You are around friends. We've been there. I'll tell you something, man. People in the first week of sobriety are my heroes. Right now, my friend, this is the hardest part, right? You get through the next 4 days, and you're going to have a base underneath you that is going to carry you through to the greatest things that are going to happen in your life are going to be because of what you've done in the last 3 days. I promise you that's the truth, man. Way to go to step up to the plate and to take action, right? To change your life. God bless you, man. 3 days. People, can we get a yeehaw? Huh? Can we get a hell yeah? Brandon, congratulations, man. I am so glad you're here. For real. I am so glad you're here. You're among friends. This is a pivotal time for you. That first week is tough. If you find yourself feeling like, I don't know your drug of choice, and it's going to go by here really quickly even if you tell me, but whatever it is you quit, if you feel like going to the liquor store, or if you feel like calling your dealer, there are a bunch of people on this boat that would like to talk to you. There are a bunch of people on this boat that would like to talk to you, right? Call us before you call your dealer. Call us before you go to the liquor store. And I promise you, we're going to do everything within our power to make sure that tomorrow you can say, I'm on my 4th day, right? We will celebrate your sobriety, bro, to the finish line. We will fight to make sure that you are the best that you can be. And that starts with just what you did, man. 3 days. Awesome, bro. Man, that's cool. I'm sorry. That is... Congratulations, bro. Honestly, that is just great. Craig, what made me choose to be a user? And I did beat it. What made me choose to be a user? Well, here's the deal. It's such a great question, and I don't know that I can answer it. I can tell you what happened, but I guess I wanted to be cool, and I think I wanted an excuse. I used it as an excuse for a long time for not being successful to the point that I should have been. And it became like my favorite excuse, right? If I got C's in school, yeah, but I was getting high too. Like you might have gotten A's, man, but I've been getting stoned every day and I still got C's. I think the truth was that at that point in my life, I couldn't do better than C's, and no matter what I did. But, it was a perfect storm. I remember my family's, my parents talked to us about drugs. Not the way I encourage people to do now, where you sit down and you talk to them for real about drugs. But my parents said, don't do drugs. These are going to, mess up your life. And they said the right things, especially for what they knew, with the limited knowledge they had of drugs. But the first time someone asked me if I wanted to get high, I said yes. 2 guys named Darren and Matt. And they said, do you want to go get stoned? And yeah. I mean, it was that, I don't know. I said yes. And in the beginning... yeah, I liked the feeling, but I think I liked more the fact that it was a fraternity instantly, right? I was on the football team, and I was on a lot of teams, but I was on the football team and I took it pretty seriously, and I took skiing more seriously than most people take anything. But in order to be accepted in those communities, there was a lot that you had to do, and at that point I was really young. I was about 14, and the skiers were all incredible. These are guys that all went on to get Olympic medals, and these are the people I trained with. Although I was there and I was accepted, I wasn't yet to the point where I was really one of the guys. And even playing football at that point, I was an underclassman. I was a good football player, but I wasn't yet coming into my own. Whereas, being a druggie, all I had to do was take a hit off a joint, and instantly I was accepted by everybody. And there was these cool little things, like we had our own vocabulary, right? Nowadays kids talk about getting faded or back then we got baked. Like that was the expression. And man, it was just cool. In my opinion, it was cool. And then the next thing I knew, it got legs and it got out of control. But what crushed it was, I got injured constantly. You know what I mean? The kind of skiing I did and the lifestyle that I was leading, I was always injured. And from the very first time that pain meds came into my life, there was no option. I am one of those individuals who is an opiate addict, and when the universe was formed, I was an opiate addict. Just hadn't gotten, to the point where I had tried them yet. But that drug has my number. I've done every drug on the planet, but the one that I just could never control was opiates. But I never made that conscious decision, honestly, and I had no excuse in terms of, I had great parents. I was raised in an idyllic setting in a very beautiful place in Vermont. No crime. People didn't lock their doors. The only crime really out there was the fact that people were getting high. And I fell into it. And, like so many other people, before you knew it, I couldn't get out of it. But I wish I had a better answer to that, because I really do. But that is the best answer that I can give you. So, David N. Do the little stuffed mooses in the background mean anything? There are stuffed mooses in the background? What the heck are you talking about? People, do you hear this guy? You're crazy. I assume you're referring to these guys and these guys? Yes, they absolutely have incredible meaning. Papa Scoville, my father, was called the Moose. He's a very large man, and he was nicknamed at a very young age due to playing lacrosse. He was a world-class lacrosse player growing up at a school that in Long Island, New York, where lacrosse was a religion. And he was a very, very big guy who played attack. And if you know anything about lacrosse, the attack is usually played by very, very small guys. Defense is played by big guys. Midfielders are tend to be in between, but attack guys are small. And my father was usually twice the size of most attackmen. And because of that, he got the nickname Moose. And I was built very much like my dad. My dad was a little bigger than I was, but when I was a kid, both myself and my brother Johnny used to get Mini Moose a lot. Like everybody that knew my dad used to refer to us as the Mini Mooses. And so yeah, these are, and I'll tell you something. There's 100 of them in this house. You can't see all of them. They're everywhere. I mean, I'm looking at 6 or 7 off camera right now. They are everywhere. It's just something that over the years we've been collecting, and now that my dad's gone, I really like them. I like having them around. But that is the significance behind the mooses. Good question too, by the way. Now, people, keep the questions coming. Keep the questions coming. I want my call screener to have a difficult time. Do you understand me? Also, real quickly, back to Chris's question. People, it's the question, why does someone use... I've met a couple of people in the course of my time doing this who had very, I wouldn't say easy because there's no such thing as easy, but I've had people who could answer that question fast. And oftentimes that means that there were some things in their youth or something that they were really trying to kill the memory of. And for a lot of individuals, drugs are about killing memories. Drugs take away. Drugs don't give, right? You get nothing from drugs. They take away. And they take away pain. They take away anger. They take away, and eventually they take away freedom, right? They take away love. They take away cash. They take away houses. They take away cars. But in the beginning, the question becomes, what is it? What do you need to take away? Like, what is the problem in your life you want gone? I have butted heads with people in the community in a very big way over this question, because they believe wholeheartedly in the rehabilitation community that there is always an answer to that question. You understand what I'm saying? They don't believe that somebody could just get high because they wanted to get high and then have it get out of control. They believe wholeheartedly, and they have a vested interest in this, by the way. They have a vested interest in being able to blame you getting high on your childhood, because then they can say it was bad parenting, or it was this, or it was that. And they know, as somebody who does rehab, if they can blame it on somebody, then what's going to happen is you don't have any guilt. And if you don't have any guilt, then your chances of relapse just greatly went down, because guilt is one of the great drivers of relapse. So for eons, they have been blaming this on parents, right? They blame it on your parents screwed up. If your parents loved you more when you were a kid, then you wouldn't have gone down that road. They don't like the fact that I do the own it thing. It had nothing to do with my parents. I used to go into rehab and they'd say to me, well, you're blocking, or you're not being honest. Excuse me. You're not being honest. You're not, you're covering up. And they simply couldn't handle the concept of, no, I did this. This is me. And this is one of the reasons that I hammer home so much the own it thing. No matter what happens in your life, people, you have to take some responsibility. And the really important part of that is that if you don't take responsibility for why you got high, even if you had bad parents, right? No matter what happened in your youth, if you're not going to take the responsibility, then what's going to happen is down the road, the guilt kicks in when you start wondering whether or not it was really your fault. I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm going to take responsibility for what I did, and which doesn't jive with the disease thing that everybody wants to give me grief over. I say it's a disease of choice. It's my fault, people. I'm not a victim of anything. It's my fault. But there's a switch in my brain that gets thrown that doesn't get thrown in the head of a non-user, if that makes sense. Okay, let's see what we got here. The Swiss Vapor. How do you respond to old friends? I assume you mean, do I maintain relationships with old friends, or how do I respond to them in terms of now when I run into these people and I'm living a completely different life than I used to, how do I handle that? I assume that's what you mean by the question. If I don't know how to word this without it sounding awful, because I think what I was going to say a second ago was, fortunately, and that's not how I want to start this sentence. Very few of the people that I associated with are still alive. My drug of choice kills people, and during the time that I was gone and incarcerated, the lion's share of these people died. There are so few of the people that I know who are still alive, but the ones that are, I lay down the law. There's no other way to put it. I lay down the law. If you contact me and you go, hey, Tommy, how you been? I haven't talked to you in a long time. Fantastic. I'm doing great. I'm 6 years off that garbage. So here's the deal. I'd love to catch up with you. I can talk to you. If you're still using, we're never going to be in the same room. Just not going to be in the room with the guy that does heroin. And people think that that's cold-hearted or whatever. There was this great debate about whether or not you should try to help people because your sobriety needs to come first. I'm all about helping people. But there's a big difference between me trying to help someone who is an addict and me going back to people I used to get high with. Right? That's two really different things. I will not have a person in my life who threatens me. My sobriety is more important than old friendships. And to be really honest with you, there are exceptions to the rule. Jack is an exception to the rule. But for the most part, was your friendship built on anything other than dope? The reason that Jack and I have maintained the relationship that we have, and I truthfully love the guy, is because our friendship is based on so much more than drugs. And once the drugs were removed from our lives, we were still able to be friends. But for the most part, the people that I hung out with who were in the life, the only thing we had in common was heroin. These were not people where, like, if you take the drug away and we sit down and start to talk about what we believe or the things that we enjoy. Honestly. Now, if you're an alcoholic, that's very different because, alcohol is such an accepted part of society that, it's not, heroin is, we hid in the alleys, right? You really don't come out in the open. It's one of those things that's done in the dark. For alcoholics, it's different, but you got to lay the law down. That's my personal opinion. It's different for everybody, but you have to be able to say to these people, I'd love to talk to you. I would love to be friends with you. The first time you give me an inkling, right, that you're trying to lead me in a bad direction, it's going to be the last time we ever speak. The most important thing in my life right now is that I remain sober. And if you tell a person that, you're going to be shocked how they treat you. One of two things is going to happen. They're going to respect the crap out of that, or they're going to disappear. And you really can't lose with either of those results, right? Whether or not they respect exactly what it is that you do, or they just do a disappearing act like a Houdini. Either way, they're not threatening your sobriety. And that's the most important thing at this point, is to make sure that, simply put, they're not threatening your sobriety. So I'm not suggesting that you be cold-hearted, right? That's never the goal, but nothing's more important than you staying sober. And you just got to make sure that you convey that to people. And if you do, I don't think you're going to run into too many problems. But that's how I do it. Sorry, people. Next question here. Virginia Doolin. How do I help my son stop alcohol? You know what? I'm glad you asked this question. I really am. Because this brings up a segment of what we do here that this gets, the word is not overlooked. This gets screwed up more than anything else out there. You're going to hear people say, well, there's nothing you can do for your son until he's ready. People, I would never have been ready ever. I'm telling you straight away. I never would have been ready to quit. Ever. Ever. What gave me the opportunity to quit was getting incarcerated. I'm not suggesting your son needs to get locked up. What I'm suggesting is that you have to intervene, and you have to do it in such a way. There are people who say you just keep showering them with love, and eventually they're gonna. You got to intervene. Depending on how far in your son is, Virginia, oftentimes you have to support someone who is that far down the road, right? If they're in full-blown alcoholism, more than likely you're supporting him on more than one level. You're probably surely you're doing it emotionally, but you're probably doing it financially. you cut all that off, right? There is an expression called tough love. Tough love often meant, and there was actually a program for a long time called Tough Love on how to deal with people with drugs, and you kick them out of your house. It is the worst piece of advice in the world. If your son is still in your house, you do not kick him out of the house. If you knew the number of addicted kids whose parents kicked them out of their house, heroin addicts who ended up dead behind a dumpster, and those parents are left going, oh my Lord, what did I do? So I believe that tough love is essential. But tough love works like this. You're not drinking in my house. You're not going to drink in my house. Now, depending on how old your son is, if my son was 16 and he had a drinking problem, there are different ways to deal with it. I'm removing the door off of his bedroom. I'm not going to have a door on the bathroom he uses. I swear to you. If my son is addicted to a substance and living in my house, everything changes. I mean everything. My son wouldn't have access to a cell phone. There are things that I would do until he could earn them back. Plain and simple. He's 40 and living with you. Okay. Now, we're talking into a very different situation. The fact that he is 40 and living with you probably means that he's experiencing some challenges. Here's the good thing. At 40, a person's intellect is fully developed, right? Completely fully developed. What you need to do is get him here. I'm not even being funny. If you email me, Virginia, and give me an opportunity to try to talk to your son one-on-one, I would like to invite him to the boat. And it's going to sound crazy, right? I've already had success with this. Chances are, more than likely, at the age of 40, and the drug of choice was alcohol, correct? Somebody give me a thumbs up on that. I believe the drug of choice is alcohol. Okay, yes. At 40 years old and an alcoholic, your son wants to quit. I would bet you the farm. Even if he's telling you he doesn't, or I'm not going to, or this or that, no one is happy being an addict. They're not. We say that we are, but what they really mean is that you're happier than the thought of not using, right? Because the thought of not using for an addict, Virginia, it's terrifying him, but he hates his life. He does. And I can tell you this because I have been there. And addicts don't love life. Addicts hate life. They love life for that first 4 or 5 drinks, or they love life for that first fix. And then the rest of the day is spent literally in a living hell. Virginia, make sure that you get an email to me, because this is nuts and bolts stuff. At 40, there's a whole list of things that we can do, but I'm going to have to ask you a whole lot of questions, and it may be difficult to do it back and forth this way, but I am very much interested in this, in helping you one-on-one on this, because this is a situation. 40 is an age that if your son turns it around right now, he can have an amazing life. But he's got about 5 or 6 more years, and then you really start seeing it slip a lot faster. The thing with alcohol is a poison. It's the reason it goes out of your body through your liver. Alcohol damages us every single time we use it, right? You've heard the term wet brain. This is from people that abuse alcohol for so long that there's literally no going back. Chances are at 40, that is not yet the issue. 40 is an age where we can still save it, right? This is an age where we still turn this life around. 40 is young. It really is. So please reach out to me, Virginia, and you and I will do, sorry, people. And you and I will do a back and forth. There's some questions that I'm going to have to ask you. But if you're willing to, to answer them and get involved with me in this, I promise you there's things that we can do. We certainly will give it hell. We'll give it everything we got. Let me see here. Oh, by the way. Oh, and let's keep the questions coming, people. My call screener doesn't seem to be doing anything. I can't have that. It's on the clock. People. Sorry. The question from Virginia brings up a point that I think is essential. If you're out there and you find yourself in a situation like Virginia's, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm hoping he's going to say exactly what I need to hear. I don't want to say into the comments section that my daughter's a heroin addict. Like, I'm not ready to share that with the world. Or I don't want to say that this is happening. If there's something going on in your life that's too personal for the comment section, for the love of God, send me an email, right? People, don't leave anything to chance, and don't leave a regret. The best we can do is to do everything within our power to make sure that we try to save somebody. If it does not work, the pain of losing someone to an addiction. I don't mean overdosing and dead. I just mean someone that that we can't save. That pain is mitigated so dramatically if you did everything that you could. Don't not send me an email and then regret for the rest of your life that you didn't send me an email. That would be a very difficult thing. So if you're listening to the sound of my voice and you've got something that you feel weird putting in the comment section, please, people, I'm at CaptainTommyScoville@gmail.com, and I am here to help. That's what I do, right? So please reach out to me. We'll do everything we can to save whoever that person is. Flaming Jackson. People, I don't know that I've ever said this, right? So let's take care of this real quick. Mr. Jackson falls into a group of people like Charlie Mullins, people that are just so positive, so consistently just loving, positive, caring, and supportive. This is a guy that is just, we're blessed to have him on our boat. Plain and simple. Jackson is awesome. And he's a chilly head. I'll forgive him for that. I got a brother like that. So, all right. Flaming Jackson asks, I'm addicted to coffee. I've been trying to taper off. It seems like I can't function without it. I have ADHD, and I believe that it might be one of the reasons. I no longer take ADHD medication. Okay, here's the deal. Number one, caffeine is a drug. There's no two ways about it. Caffeine is a drug. And caffeine is addicting. If you don't believe it is, quit and watch the headaches that you get. What you're getting is caffeine withdrawal. So those headaches are caused by is lack of caffeine. And once again, it really proves everything I've ever said about addiction, right? Your brain is going, I'll just give him a headache. He's going to give me some caffeine. I'll give him a headache. He's going to drink a cup of coffee. I promise you. I give him a bad enough headache. He's going to go run and get him some Coca-Cola. A lot of people with ADHD will talk about how caffeine helps them focus. Any stimulant, regardless of how strong, will end up treating ADHD. ADHD is one of those ailments where the brain is scattered, right? It's the inability, right? Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It is the inability for the person with the disorder to focus, right? So you tend to get people whose thoughts go in a million directions, right? You ever talk to somebody that says, they tell you a story about third grade and they say, yeah, or so where did you go to school? Back in third grade. Oh, in third grade I was in a town called Woodstock. There's a rock concert in a place called Woodstock. Of course, that's a different state. I think that was in New York. I knew a girl named Karen lived in New York once. I think she went to college in Virginia, though. You ever been to Virginia? And you're going, holy God, what just happened, right? Like you can't follow the train of thought. Or the conversation, or where this person is taking it. When you put an amphetamine, or you put a stimulant, or anything like that into the equation, what ends up happening is it focuses, and while it tends to wire some people out, it has the exact opposite effect on someone with ADHD. It actually calms them, and it enables them to focus on one thing. Jackson, if your ADHD is untreated, if you're not going to a doctor for this, I'm not a doctor, but my question would be why? ADHD is a disorder that when people really have it, they really need to be treated for it. It's something that they've gotten so good over the years at treating this that finding the magic bullet is something that is possible. There are basically 4 drugs that they use. I'm going to get tons of people that argue with this. There are 4 stimulant drugs that are very, very popular to treat ADHD with. There are other drugs that are not stimulants that they're treating ADHD with. They are more, I don't want to use the word experimental because they've been approved by the FDA, so they're not experimental, but they're new. They're not the gold standard. The gold standard would be Ritalin, Adderall, Dexedrine, and then Disoxin. And that is in order of strength, right? We start with Ritalin, that's the bottom of the food chain, and we go up until we get to Disoxin, which is the top of the food chain. All 4 are amphetamines, and all 4 will help you focus back on. Quitting caffeine is, depending on how much of it you're doing, quitting caffeine is a good thing. It's not a drug we all need in our body. I need to quit. I do way too much caffeine. But here's the thing, Mr. Jackson, if you're going to if you're going to quit the caffeine, you really got to figure out exactly you really want to get to a point where you got to talk to your doctor about this. You really do. The thing is this: people tend to try to use homemade remedies, right? Chances are you're not focusing better using caffeine as the stimulant of choice. You really are going to need to use one of the medications that they have out there. There are home remedies that people talk about, and people try to self-medicate for ADHD. Caffeine is not going to have the effect that you want it to have. If you got addicted to it from drinking too much of it, but if you're thinking that it's a way to treat your ADHD and thinking that any stimulant is going to help that work, there are stimulants that don't help ADHD. The reason that those 4 I just mentioned are considered the gold standard is because they've been tested. You can get things in low dose. There is another drug that works on the R receptor. Modafinil? Damn. I may be saying that wrong. I think it's armodafinil, but it was sold for a while under the name New Vigil. People used it, they would say, to treat third shift disorder. It was a stimulant that helped people who worked odd hours so that they were able to stay awake during specific times. But there have been doctors that have been using that to treat ADHD. I don't think you want caffeine as your answer for ADHD, bro. I really don't. But you need to talk to a doctor about this. And choosing to not treat ADHD, period, again, it's your choice, man. But real ADHD with people who have problems with it, I would recommend talking to a doctor. I would recommend trying to get treated for it. Not being able to focus on things that's something that's tough. But you get through this, Jackson. I love you, brother. Do talk to a doctor, please. That's beyond the scope of the captain's chair. Sorry, people. I am still getting over the C17 plus 2, and I got this congestion stuff going on that's just awful. Let me see what we got here. Heat my shorts. Here's the deal. All right. Okay, the Gillespie twins are having fun with the captain because he's been known from time to time to say, here's the deal. I may have said it once or twice in the last couple of weeks, and he has felt the need. All right, I got you. Einstein Alberto says, caffeine is the only stimulant that makes my ADHD worse. All the other ones make me feel calm and relaxed. You know something? I wish I had read that 2 minutes ago. That's kind of what I was trying to say to Mr. Jackson. You're not the only person I've heard say that, Alberto Einstein. It will, it may relax you, right? Because of the fact that you have the hyperactivity disorder along with the attention deficit. It may relax you. It's probably not going to help you focus, Jackson, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at. So please talk to a doctor. If there's a rock solid reason that you've decided to not treat the ADHD, I got to respect that. But don't feel like the guys on the boat here. Don't feel like the captain is saying, whatever you do, please don't do, don't do this because it's a drug. Look, people, let me go on the record right now. There are drugs you have to take. There are drugs that treat certain things that you cannot feel guilty for taking, right? I'm not up here at the front of the boat to say, don't take drugs. There are no drugs worth taking. For the love of everything good, people. Drugs are developed. And look, I'm addicted to pain medication. You know one of the greatest and most important drugs in the world is? Pain medication. I can't take it, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Truthfully, you break your leg and see about a home remedy, right? Get the pain of radiation sickness and go and deal with it with with nothing to treat it. Pain, there's a reason that we have opiate receptors in our body. When pain gets too bad, morphine is an incredible substance. Unfortunately, I have a switch in my head that makes it very, very tough for me to take pain medication. I will instantly get addicted to it. Plain and simple. But it doesn't mean if one of you injures yourself that I don't want you taking Loratab. If you're in pain, I want you taking pain medication, right? I don't want to ever come across as a guy that is anti-drug. I'm anti-addiction, right? I don't think that you use drugs as a way to recreate. I don't think, but don't think for a second that if somebody needs amphetamines because they have ADHD, then I'm a guy going, you don't need that. Oh man, that was Tom Cruise, wasn't it? Didn't he do that? Whatever you do, don't medicate anybody for anything. I'm not that person. So please talk to a doctor. Yeah, please don't ever think, people, that I'm not thumping the drum up here telling you that there's no legitimate reason for somebody to take Ritalin or Adderall or any of the other ones. I don't want to see you snorting the stuff to get high, right? Because that's not cool. But if you're someone that needs it, I am not preaching that you shouldn't take it. Please don't think that for a second. Okay, let me see here. Arizona Raven, Concerta and Concerta and Risperidol were given to my youngest for school. It made her a walking zombie. We took her out of school and she promptly passed her GED. Look, there is no mistaking the fact that there are doctors whose vested interest is to put kids on drugs that they probably don't need to be on. And the longer that they're in that line of work, the more that they just take the prescription pad. And I've got a little experience in this. The Concerta, I'm not super familiar with that. The Risperidol is, the crazy thing is that in my experience, they were giving out the Risperidol to take care of side effects from the treating that they were doing, right? Oftentimes when you give kids Ritalin or you give them the Concerta or any of the other ones, what ends up happening is, it's not ideal for anybody on any age to do too many amphetamines. For those of you who, I was about to say tweakers, and I got to get rid of those habits. I'm sorry, people. But for those people that had gotten addicted to methamphetamine, you will see people that, there's tics and there's things that they develop over long periods of time because it's amphetamines, especially in high doses, and bathroom, stuff is even worse, right? The crank and stuff. But amphetamines tend to cause people to have, they get tics. So the Risperidol often was given out to counteract some of the almost like Tourette-like symptoms that come from the medication themselves. And I don't mean yelling curses out like Tourette's from movies. I'm talking about the little, twitching and affectations that tend to happen. They started to give Risperidol out to counteract that. And I've watched this in multiple kids, and you're right, it turns them into zombies. And I'm not, there are people that need it. And boy, you can tell when they are. Right? I went to college with a guy who had ADHD as bad as anyone on the planet, and he was medicated for it. And if he wanted to go out and party on the weekends, like there was no tomorrow, he would take 20 milligrams of Valium. Now, for anybody who's done Valium is alcohol in a pill, right? It does the exact same thing chemically in the brain that alcohol does. And boy, if I took 20 milligrams of Valium, I become a very mellow captain, right? It's going to look like I had way too much to drink. He would bounce off the walls like a Super Bowl. The chemical makeup in his brain was so different than ours that when he took large amounts of amphetamines, it calmed him down to the point where he was lethargic if he took enough of it. But if he took enough Valium, it did the exact opposite thing. He would literally bounce around like he was just wired to beat the band. There are different chemical makeups in everybody's brain, people. There are no answers. The answer that works for one person, especially with things like ADHD, what works for one person is not going to work for another. And I most assuredly, my, the things that I studied and the areas that I really spent a lot of time researching and looking into, this is not my area of expertise. I will tell you anytime that, the addictive part of it, I can tell you everything you want to know about being addicted to those things. But if you have ADHD, you need to consult a doctor about the treatments there. And please do, because Jackson, I love you, bro. And I want you to be happy. So please talk to a doctor and make sure you're getting the best care. That's important to me. Einstein Alberto, from what I understand, is also battling the big C right now. That would be C17 plus 2. And he said that he's thanking me and he's feel like he's getting some strength and stuff. You know what, people? I love that. I appreciate it. I really do. If there's strength that people are drawing from this boat, and you're giving me credit for it, I love that. But you're giving me credit for it because you're staring at me. But it's all of these people that you can't see that are they're sending love and support and prayers and things of that nature. That's really the power that drives this boat, people. You know what I mean? I get to stand at the wheel, and even more importantly, I get to wear a really cool hat. But this boat's about you people. It really is. It's about what you people do every day, showing up here and supporting one another. That I can't harp on that enough, right? Please understand why I do the boy am I lucky, right? People, I don't want you to ever lose sight of the fact that I realize how lucky I am. I realize how lucky I am that there are people who show up here every day to watch me, and that there are people that see the vision of what I want to do. The George Workmans and the and Raven and Ann and everybody. We're really getting to the point, people, where if I wanted to do a shout out to all of the people here that are making this boat better, well, we could do a 2.5 hour live feed and I wouldn't talk about anything else, right? Really, truthfully, and honestly, that's how I feel. And yeah, but thank you. I appreciate that compliment. I really do, brother. Thank you so much. Wow, and I got a comment from my call screener, and I won't read it because it's just my call screener thinking that's funny. Okay, the Pepper Dojo. He said, it's interesting how people act when they are under the influence of something. It's fascinating, truthfully fascinating. And it's fascinating how different things treat different people. Right now, the country is going through an epidemic, whether they realize it or not, of knockoff substances that are coming in from China. I'm not getting into the politics of it. I'm just telling you it's a fact. And I've talked about this before, and I had multiple people that said, no, what they're sending in is precursors to make the stuff. People, before I went to prison, I was ordering drugs from China, and I wasn't making them. They were coming in wrapped in fabric or in little toys, but I was buying drugs that weren't drugs according to Hoyle, right? What I would buy, there was a drug called alpha PVP. That's what the people selling it in China were calling it. And on a blind taste test, right, for a drug addict, they would not know that they were not on methamphetamine. It was basically the exact same thing, but it wasn't. It was a knockoff designer version of it. Not quite like bath salts, but similar, right, to where it is a chemical that is, you see it written out, and it's a chemical symbol that long. And all it's doing is mimicking the effect in the brain of whatever it is you bought. So you could buy fake heroin, fake cocaine, whatever the case may be. And it's dangerous, people. It's coming in right now in unbelievable quantities. And, you say it's interesting to see how people react to drugs. I watched people doing this in prison, and you would watch 4 guys throw in on what they call a paper, which is like the old folds that they used to make with cocaine in them back in the 80s. But they would go in on a paper, and the 4 of them would go in a cell, and they would all split it into 4 ways, and they would do it and then come out. And 3 would be fine, and 1 would freak out to the point that they had to come in and basically put him in a rubber room. And this happened all the time. And the crazy thing is that, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4 all go into a room, and number 3 freaks out and doesn't know what to do, and they've got to basically take him out. Literally come in with a team and put him in a straitjacket. And 2 months later, he's out of the hole and back, and they go in and do the exact same thing, and number 1 freaks out. There's no rhyme or reason to a lot of the stuff, especially what's coming in now. People, we don't know how this is being made. We don't know. Pay attention tomorrow, right? For ounce of prevention stuff, people, on Wednesdays. If you've got kids, please show up on Wednesday and start really paying attention to the things I'm talking about in terms of raising a drug-free kid. It has never been more important than it is right now. It's an astounding thing to have to say out loud, but we're getting to the point in this country where you're a lot safer if your kid's doing meth or cocaine, because the stuff that's coming in from outside of the country, it's made by people who don't really care much for our society or our people. And they're shipping this stuff over here. Who knows what they're doing or what they're making? And who knows what the effects of these drugs are going to be? We're not going to know until it's way too late. I mean, for real. We're just really starting to get a handle on what meth will do to you, and it's been abused since the late 60s. People, we're talking about some dangerous, dangerous stuff, right? I'm not making this up. Go online and research Flakka. Just put in Flakka. Starts with an F, right? Flaka. Flakka. That's the street name for one of these drugs, very similar to alpha PVP, except it's the newer version of it. And this is the stuff that they're calling zombies and, people biting one another and just crazy videos. But watch what's happening. And coming soon to a city near you. I mean, this stuff's going all over the country because you can get it through the mail, right? Put it on your Visa card. That's the reality. Sorry, people. Throat. Let's see here. Oh! Journey, Grizz's cub. Synthetic drugs are definitely no bueno. And she's speaking from experience. It ain't worth it. This is a girl who knows what she's talking about. For those of you who are on the boat full time, you all know Grizzly, right? This is Rhett Griffin. Great guy, my brother. This is his daughter, and I started the live feed talking about her. She's on the front lines of this, people. This is a very personal thing, this war on drugs, right? This is my war. This is what I'm doing for the war on drugs. But Journey's in the trenches. She's in there and she's seeing this. She is, worked in situations where she's there when they bring these people in, and it is just not worth it. It isn't. People start to use these things because it is so much cheaper. Alpha PVP, when I was getting it brought in, was I think I was paying $1,200 a kilo, right? So about $600 a pound. And at that point in the United States, if I was buying meth, I was lucky to get 2 or 3 ounces for $600. So they've made it so cheap that addicts are really jumping on this. And yeah, it's not worth it. The fact that they're getting this cheaper, what this stuff can do to you, we don't know. And Journey, I appreciate you weighing in on this because you do know. I mean, this is a girl that is literally people in the trenches fighting the good fight. And as I mentioned earlier, I didn't get into too many details because I wanted to come out in her interview. But been there, done that, and came out of it not just sober, but came out a soldier. Right? Came out someone that's really giving the whole drug thing hell. Making them pay for what she's been through. Okay, people, sorry. So the Pepper Dojo, my opinion on MDMA. Now, I have a unique thing with MDMA, right? Methyl-dioxymethamphetamine. It's ecstasy was the term that people used back in the day. Now they like to call it Molly, but this is a club drug. It's become very popular in as a rave drug or a club drug. It is the base of this drug is methamphetamine, and for that reason, it gives you plenty of energy, keeps you sort of wired. The second they bring in the second component of this drug and synthesize it, what happens is you get sort of a heightened sense of touch and anything that's sort of external stimuli, lights, smells, touch. And for that reason, it's sort of got the nickname or the moniker, the sex drug. And there are many people who use it in theory to enhance that. However, so when I moved to Texas as a young boy years ago, you could still buy it at General Nutrition Center. There was a brief period of time in the state of Texas where methyl drugs were not illegal based solely on the fact that they were methyl based. So when people found that there was no law against MDMA on the books, they began to sell it. And they waited until they had broke out of session, right? So the government was gone. They knew they had about 1.5 years. They could sell as much as they want. And what happened, I mean, kids were going door to door. There were network marketing companies like Amway, multi-level marketing companies selling ecstasy. They would come by with a brochure and say, this is great for your marriage. If you're married, you and your wife eat this and, problems are going to go away. And I got a chance to see what legal ecstasy can do to a society. Ecstasy has, it's just another drug. It really is, people. Sure, absolutely. You take it and for 6 to 8 hours, hate is something that you couldn't muster if you try. People are so kind to one another, it's amazing. But like I have said before, they take away, right? They don't give. So it's not giving you all of this great stuff. What it's doing is taking away your inhibitions. It's taking away all of these different things, right? Yes, you have a heightened sense of touch, but what it's really doing is taking away the morality of what you would do normally, right? Sexual activity with 6 people didn't seem at all unreasonable when on this substance. It's taking away inhibitions. It's taking away morals. It's taking away all of that. So it's also a methamphetamine-based drug, and we know what methamphetamine does to the brain. We know what methamphetamine does to the body, to the teeth, right? This is not a good drug. So my thing is this. It's not worth the trade-off, and it falls into what I like to call the TRIP family of drugs. And this is drugs where when you take them, you literally have breaks with reality. Now, I don't mean, you hear the stories, I was talking to Mickey Mouse. I've done a lot of drugs. I've never talked to any cartoon characters, right? People like to tell you these stories. Honestly, I've done everything. I've never had that experience where I was talking to the cartoon characters, doing any of these things. However, there is a break with reality, and they're dangerous for that reason. I wouldn't get into a car with someone on ecstasy that was driving. Be the last thing in the world I would do. So in this TRIP family of drugs, you've got mushrooms, you've got LSD, you've got ketamine in large doses, and you've got MDMA is one as well. To where once you take this, the trip starts, and you're going to have this period of time where your ability to control your decisions and the things that you do get really, really messed with. So I lump that into a family of drugs that I think are dangerous, not necessarily because of the threat of getting addicted, but because of what can happen to you. I'm going to tell a story that my friend would not mind me telling because of how close we are, but my best friend in the world is in a wheelchair, and he'll spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. And maybe with luck, he will agree to come on here at some point. But this was my best friend from high school, and a gifted athlete like you wouldn't believe. Great football player, a little too short to sort of go college or anything, but on skis, like nothing you've ever seen, man. I was a good skier. I couldn't carry this guy's poles, man. He was so talented in so many ways. And in San Francisco, after a Grateful Dead concert, he stepped out of a window. And he didn't think he could fly or anything like that. But in the hotel, that was one of those things where the window here could almost get to the window here. It was in like an L in a building. And he was just going to step from one window to the other. But the perception and the depth, he fell 90 feet. And he broke his spine, shattered it, and was paralyzed from the waist down. Trying to fix some of the damage that was done to him, they nicked the spinal cord, and now he's what's called a partial quad. And what that means is he can move his arms, and his upper body's as big as a tree trunk, like he's huge, but his hands are like this, and he can't do this. And he is a soldier. He went and he got his college degree. He went and got his master's degree, and he worked for the state of Arizona and has been very successful in life. He once said to me, "Nothing got in the way of my success more than my legs." But every time I look at him, I think, if it wasn't for LSD, if he wasn't tripping, my boy would still be walking. And I have a real problem, with drugs that break reality so hard. This was no rookie. This was a guy that did every substance on the planet you could wrap your brain around, right? My friend he was no rookie. He had done a lot of drugs. He had toured with the Grateful Dead. He had done tons of acid or LSD, they call acid. But that night it got him. And for the rest of his life, that's it. He's never going to walk again. And that's frightening to me. So my opinion on MDMA is it's in a family of drugs, a class of drugs that are scary. All of those alphabet drugs are frightening. You know what I mean? Alphabet drugs, right? MDMA, LSD, PCP, any of the ones that just have letters, all bad. That's my personal opinion. Anna, the evangelist, anything that you take primarily to suppress or exaggerate your emotions is something you should avoid. Wow. Let me read this, people. Anna the Evangelista said, anything that you take primarily to suppress or exaggerate your emotions is something that you should avoid. We need to process emotions and be healthy. Boom. If you can't enjoy sexual activity with the person you're with without taking a drug to enhance it, find somebody else to have sex with. It's my personal opinion. I think that there are things on this planet that are as close to holy as you're going to get on this planet. I believe that there are things designed for us as humans that bring us together in a way that really is magic. And I don't think drugs need to be brought into that equation. That's just my personal opinion. And ecstasy definitely falls into that range. Holy Holies, what year was that? I managed a GNC franchise for several years, starting in 2003. This was, boy, I don't want to age myself. See what you did here? Now I'm going to have to tell you how old I am. It was at the end of the 1980s and the beginning of the 1990s. At first, it was MDMA, and then from MDMA, once they weren't smart enough to make methyl drugs illegal. So when they came back into session, they made MDMA illegal. So as soon as the session closed, they already had it boxed and ready to roll. Bars everywhere else started selling Adam and Eve, which was a step-down version of it. It's felt the exact same. You just had to take a lot more of it. And from there, the next one was Scoop. They called it Scoop, and it was sold at GNC also. And it came in a little jug, and you would just scoop out the little thing, level off the top, dump it into a drink. GHB was huge at that point too. All of these things were just rampant. But then they finally changed the law to where methyl-based drugs, anything that is methyl-based, is illegal without a prescription. But see, I got to tell people how old I am. Good looking out, Anna. Okay, Charlie Layton. As weird as it may sound, my first what you might call high came from sniffing model car glue. I was like 10 or 11 and I saw my older cousin doing it, so I tried it and I loved it. Boy, there is nothing even remarkably surprising about that. If you knew how many first experiences for children are with inhalants, fortunately they have changed glue that you use for models to now to where all of the chemicals in there that people use as inhalants, toluene being a big one. Inhalants they don't make glue right now for anything like that you can get high on. They're doing what they can to protect kids. The new one right now, people, is the compressed air that they use to blow off keyboards. That's a big one for kids right now. It's one of the first things that we're seeing a lot of kids in elementary school who, I mean, you can walk into a store and buy that. You'd be 6 years old, they're going to sell it to you. But people are just taking that and they take a breath right off the can and go from there. About 20 years ago, I was putting together what was going to become the boat, but I was still using it. You all know this story. But back then I was taking notes and starting to put this process together. I was going to get sober before I started, right? But I did want to do this. The only problem was I was a heroin addict. But as I was doing it, I was talking to a friend and I told him I said, yeah, that compressed air stuff, it's been around that long. I said, that's the real, sort of, icebreaker now for kids, as opposed to sniffing glue. The big one is doing this stuff that for cleaning off keyboards, compressed air. I get a call probably 4 hours later. Keep in mind, this guy's 30-something, but I went to high school with him. He was a partier. He said he went into Office Max, and he just grabbed one off the shelf and thought, I'll try this. There was nothing he hadn't tried. Took the biggest inhale that he possibly could and held it, which is not ideal, right? You're supposed to take it and blow it out or whatever. He passed out and knocked down a display case. And when they came over, he had the thing in his hand like this with his finger on it. Ended up getting arrested. Not funny, right? Funny looking back through the lens of somebody that is sober, because believe it or not, now he works with kids in like a outward bound kind of thing where you take kids and go up into the woods and use that as a way to get kids sort of back to nature and sober. Anna says, gotcha, that was before my party years. Anna, that's probably because you're younger than me. Everybody's younger than me, right? The captain's an old man. We're all aware of that. The captain is definitely an old man. But yeah, I'm not surprised with the inhalants. People, if you catch your children doing inhalants, there is nothing worse for the brain. It is not, it can't be laughed off. It is, if you think about the mechanism of a buzz, what gets you high. With marijuana, you've got, THC. With opiates, there are receptors in the brains that the opiates attach to, and there's always a mechanism that causes the high. With inhalants, it's hypoxia. There's not enough oxygen getting to the brain. Instead of your brain getting oxygen, it's getting something else, and your brain cells are popping like popcorn. Really, you're killing enough brain cells where you're catching a buzz. And if your kids are doing inhalants, if you've ever seen somebody that abused them for too long, it is astounding just how debilitating. They look like they've had a lobotomy. If you catch your kids doing inhalants, you really need to do something about it. Email me. I'll tell you how you can, that's not something you can take lightly. That's not kids being kids. That's horrendously dangerous stuff. It really is. Let's see here. Next question. We've got Mark Wages. The lifeboat. What kind of toothpaste is best for kids between the ages of 2 and 72? And the second question is, how are babies made? Mark, the second deck, it's the one slightly above us, needs to be scrubbed. You can start at the fantail, work all the way to the front. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you. A little levity. Good looking out. I don't know how to pronounce this. Miss Moores. A lot of coworkers would do whippets. Okay. Older and sexier, gorgeous hands. Okay. Whippets. People, if you're not familiar with whippets are NO2. And my call screener's in so much trouble. NO2, people. So if you imagine somebody just saying no, right? With a little 2 on it there, right? NO2. Okay. That would be nitrous oxide. People call this laughing gas because oftentimes when you go to the dentist, they will give you nitrous oxide and cut it with oxygen. You continue to breathe it. And what it will do is, if they supplement it with oxygen, it will knock you unconscious. They're dropping the level of oxygen that you're getting to the brain, but they're giving you just enough oxygen to be okay, and they can knock you out using nitrous oxide. If, however, you don't do enough of it, you take in a deep breath. It comes in little canisters that look like what you would use on a BB gun, like a CO2 canister. And they sell these things called crackers. And the cracker is a little thing that you screw together tight, right? So you put the canister in, and on one side there's a pin. You attach a balloon to it, and you go, shh, and it fills up the balloon. It gets very cold. And then you breathe that in. And a couple of interesting things happen. The first thing is your voice is going to drop. It does the exact opposite of helium, right? So the person's voice drops, and the lips tend to get a little bit purple because you're not getting enough oxygen. And then for the person that's doing it, they get auditory hallucinations are the first thing they get. They get this wah, 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 wah sound. It has been nicknamed for years hippie crack because people used to sell it at the Grateful Dead concerts. In fact, I know somebody who used to buy 90-pound canisters of this, and they could get 1,000 $5 balloons off a 90-pound canister. And they would buy this for about $150 with a deposit of $90 on the canister and go make $5,000 selling it at the Grateful Dead show, and that would fund the party. I was that person. Sold a lot of it, and I've inhaled quite a bit of it in my life. The problem with the danger with whippets is it's less dangerous than most inhalants because your body actually processes it pretty well. The problem with it is that people do really stupid stuff. I was at a concert where somebody filled a bag and they put the bag over and they were breathing it. Well, the person passed out in the bag and ended up suffocating. That's the kind of danger you get with whippets. The other thing is the stuff in the canisters, or if people buy really cheap nitrous oxide that's used for welding instead of medical grade, then you've got all kinds of stuff in it that you shouldn't be inhaling. But the stuff in the little metal canisters, little pieces of metal and things, that's being sold to make whipped cream, right? You put it, you remember the Three Stooges, and they grab the seltzer bottle and they spray it. Okay, well, you put a nitrous canister in there, and that's what propels the water. It's a propellant. Okay, they still sell those, and they still sell the bottles. Now what you do is you put cream in it, and then you gas it up with nitrous oxide, and you get whipped cream. Very often kids will go get whipped cream at the stores and just take a hit off the top of the whipped cream. That's whippets. It's the same thing. That's considerably safer because that is a grade of nitrous oxide that is made basically for consumption. It's less dangerous. Any way you look at it, it's bad stuff. You don't want to, hippie crack is not something you want to inhale on a regular basis. But yeah, a lot of people have, done whippets. My goodness. What is the best toothpaste, Mark? Okay, the Pepper Dojo. What is my take on mushrooms or acid? Both, again, fall into the category of trip drugs. Psilocybe cubensis is the active ingredient in mushrooms, and they do the same thing. They're going to break with reality. More so, both of these drugs you just asked about are probably, as far as readily available trip drugs, those are the ones that you're going to get that are really kind of on the top of the food chain in terms of being strong. Lysergic acid, right? The LSD is another drug that causes people to break with reality in a very big way. People step out of windows. People, they literally can lose it to the point where they think what's going on around them isn't real. And, that break with reality can do a lot of bad stuff to the mind. There are people, there was one guy in my hometown who, we can call him Dave because no one's going to know what I'm talking about, but we'll just call him Dave. But he did one acid trip in the late 60s, and the man never was right again. Every time you see him, he goes, "Man, that's insane." Like every fifth thing he said was, "That's insane." And you would go into town and he would be playing hacky sack, like the foot bag game where you try to keep the bag in the air. He's 46, 47 years old, and he would be playing, hacky sack with 16-year-olds on the green. And nothing untoward. He had no interest in girls or anything else. He just wanted to smoke cigarettes and play hacky sack. And he had very wealthy parents in the town that I lived in, which was fortunate for him because he couldn't work, he couldn't do anything. He was just burnt out. Acid's a heavy drug. It really is. It causes you to break with reality. I will hearken back to what Anna Evangelista said. If you really need to alter your consciousness that much, you got to ask yourself why. Now, falling into the same category will be things like peyote. There are groups of people who believe that you can use these hallucinogenic drugs for the purpose of taking spiritual journeys. I'm not going to tread down that. I'm not going to talk about ayahuasca. I'm not going to talk about any of these sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? These drugs that people have elevated to some kind of almost religious status, right? All of these drugs cause you to break with reality. The ayahuasca is, they say that, you do it once, you literally then become, one with God and all of these things. Look, people, it's just another great excuse to do drugs and trip. Another one that has been getting popular in the last, say, 15 years is Ibogaine and DMT, right? Those are two that you're hearing a lot about. Ibogaine, you hear a lot about in the rehabilitation community because there are people that believe that once you take Ibogaine, if you're someone who's addicted to heroin or addicted to opiates and you take Ibogaine, you can then, when you're done with your 8-hour trip, you'll never want to use again. And they really tout this. They, they run ads and they do everything else. You can't get it in the United States, right, legally. But there, you can go to places in Mexico where you go into a clinic and it looks like you're going to a hospital, and then they give you this stuff and you trip for 8 hours, and then you're supposed to never, ever want or have a desire to do opiates again. I did Ibogaine. I tripped my you-know-what's off for 8 hours. And for about 6 weeks, I had no desire to do heroin. And then I did it. So Ibogaine was just another drug that makes you trip. Just like acid, just like mushrooms. They're dangerous because you're breaking with reality. And when you break with reality, there are bad things that can happen, right? I have seen people go on ridiculously bad trips. I've also seen them come back from it, and it wasn't a big deal. But I watched a guy in college do way too much acid, and for the rest of the time that they knew him, they called him the preacher. He walks around with a Bible in his hand at all times and was just never right again. Like he really just, and the time I knew him, I mean, maybe he's right as rain now. This was a long, long time ago. Thanks for reminding us how old I was, Anna. But he's just not firing on all cylinders. I would greatly avoid drugs that mess so much with your perception of reality that it can cause danger. But that's me. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you want, but I don't think that they're harmless by any stretch. Yeah, let's see here. Let's talk about bath salts. Bath salt has become sort of a heading of the drugs I was talking about earlier. These are all just the chemical bath that they're putting together in China, and they're pretending it's something else. You could get bath salts that mimicked cocaine. You could get bath salts that mimicked amphetamines. You get bath salts that mimic opiates. The reason they were called bath salts is because, like so many other things, you can't say, hey, here's a drug that's just like cocaine. Like, how do you sell these things, right? How do you get by, the laws? And what you do is you sell it as bath salts. It's in this little bag, and you say, yeah, you dump it into the bath. And obviously, these aren't bath salts. Just like spice is not potpourri, or any of the other things that people try to church these things up as. The flower buddy is not a cool little glass vase that holds, a plastic flower. It's a crack pipe, right? But you got to get around the laws. So the term bath salts was a general heading for all of these drugs, and they were legal for a period of time because technically they're not the drug, right? It's not really cocaine, so they could get away with selling it. These bath salts tend to get sold at bodegas, those small sort of specialty stores that you see in cities. And they were very popular in head shops, places that sold, bongs and coke grinders and all of those things. But for the most part, across the country, bath salts are all off the market. There was a big roundup of the people that were really sort of pushing it nationwide, and they all ended up in federal prison. So, but they're super dangerous. Super dangerous. At least cocaine is cocaine. Right? It's not good and it's dangerous, but you know what you're getting, at least to some extent, right? They're going to cut it, but you know that probably 70% of whatever's in the bag is cocaine. You don't know what the hell you're getting with bath salts. And there's probably 40 companies manufacturing them. You don't know what you're getting. It's just, and really, most of them are stepped down versions of PCP more than anything else. And that's why some people have psychotic breaks where they run around naked, or, the horror stories. A guy that literally cut off his penis. The guy from that had some association with Wu-Tang Clan. Like he jumped off a balcony and literally cut his Johnson off. I mean, I'm good, people. It's we're talking about a very, very dangerous group of drugs. It really is. Just be careful, people. Don't let people talk to you about. There was a whole marketing campaign with bath salts. There really was. There were these groups of people across the country that were marketing this stuff. They were talking about it like it was a safe alternative to the real thing. People, you're safer with the real thing. We have a real handle on exactly what those other drugs actually do to the human body. We do not have a clue what bath salts do because we don't even know what the hell they are. Oftentimes, the chemical makeup is so close to Raid or other bug sprays. Please, people. Anybody in the comment section, I can't read the comments. I'm just getting this from the call screener. But I know that people are backing me up. These bath salts are horrible. They are so, so dangerous. Stay the hell away from them, people. That's just not worth going down the road. But whatever you do, don't fall into the trap of it's safer because it's not the real thing. No chance. No chance. Mescaline, exact same family of drugs as LSD. Comes from the mescal plant. Is very, very similar to acid. It's just it's like lysergic. It's like diet acid. I've done mescaline. It was a trip drug. It just was not quite as strong. But it definitely is a drug that will help you break with reality. It's a super strong drug. The difference between that and LSD is that LSD originally gets, when it first got synthesized, it was made from ergot fungus, this fungus that grew on the shaft of rye and wheat. And they would take and start with that. The difference with mezcal is, as opposed to starting with that, you're starting with the same kind of a fungus type of a thing, but it grows on the mescaline plant. The mezcal plant. Same thing that they're making mezcal, that strong drink that's like tequila that they make in Mexico. But it's a trip drug. It's another one. It was called mezcal or mez or microdot, like all these different terms for it. But it's very much like LSD. And those trip drugs, look, you're breaking with reality, people. Breaking with reality is a bad idea. Anna nailed it. It's a bad idea. Marijuana versus alcohol. And then the next question after that one is really going to get me. But marijuana versus alcohol. Here's the deal. I am not. I'm not one to. These are two substances in my state that are legal, and I'm not going to recommend either of them. I honestly, for me, here's the way I kind of look at it. And there are people who use alcohol safely for their entire lives. No problem. There are people who are going to use marijuana for their entire lives. No problem. Those people aren't worth talking about, right? It's not over here. I'm talking about the where the train goes off the track. I'm talking about where the boat hits the iceberg, right? The problem drugs, the problems for people. So let's take those to their final conclusion. The problem with marijuana, and for people who become dependent, I'm not going to say addicted, because you get addicted to heroin. You don't get addicted to marijuana. You get dependent to where you can't function or you aren't happy without it, right? So if you get dependent on THC, the biggest danger to you is that you're going to dream incredible dreams and do absolutely nothing about it. They cause apathy, right? They steal ambition. There's a great joke in the movie Jackie Brown, where he says to the girl, you're doing bong hits at 9 a.m. Don't you know that stuff steals ambition? She goes, well, not if my ambition is to do bong hits. It's a joke, right? It's not a joke. The ambition that you end up with is the fact that, you're going to want to get high, but then you're not going to want to do much else, or maybe eat some Cool Ranch Doritos. But if you take the alcohol to its final conclusion, it can kill you. Right? You're never going to overdose on THC. You most assuredly can overdose on alcohol or even a lack of it. Right? Super dangerous. And the other issue with alcohol and versus marijuana is this. I've never met anybody that smoked one too many joints and punched his wife in the face. Right? I know people that drank too much, punched their wives, and the next day had no memory of doing it. That's frightening. As for me, I don't abuse either. Truthfully, I don't use either. I will drink a beer. The people that know me will tell you that they're not going to see me drink more than 2 of them. I like the taste of beer. I don't like the buzz. I really don't. I don't like feeling out of control. As crazy as it sounds, I was always in control on heroin. I was in control on every drug I did. The only one that I ever feel like I'm losing control on is if I drink. And I don't lose control on 2 beers. I don't really feel an effect on 2 beers. But I don't want to feel the effect. I really don't. If I could find a non-alcoholic beer that tasted like the beers that I enjoy, I would drink it. I'm not in it for the alcohol. But that's a decision people have to make on their own. If you happen to live in a state where marijuana is not legal, then that really should be weighed heavily into your decision. Because I've been in prison with people that did nothing other than get caught with weed. Granted, they got caught with a lot of it. But that can change your life. And I'm to the point now in my life where I follow the law. Really, as crazy as it is, I would like to be law-abiding in just about everything that I do. Now, Greg F. says, how about kratom and salvia? Now, this is tough, people, because we're getting into a realm of substances that I haven't done. I did salvia, and it was awful. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. It was a 3 to 4 minute break with reality that I honestly, for a period of time, thought I was in hell. I was in a hotel room, and I did it out of a water pipe about 3 feet tall. And I laid back, and when I hit the bed, I didn't stop. Like, I felt myself continuing to fall, and it was terrifying. And I couldn't open my eyes. My eyes were pretty much shut like this, and there was just this overwhelming feeling of doom. I don't know how to explain it. It was like hell. It really was. I was so miserable. This is a true story. I was so miserable that the guy that brought it out said, well, it's kind of like weed. And I was sick from not having heroin. And he's like, it'll take the edge off, and we were looking at 3 or 4 hours before I was going to be able to get any dope. And I was sort of panicking. And I said to the dude, if this is some weird thing, man, I swear to you, I will punch you out. Like, I will not have a sense of humor about this. He goes, it's just like weed. When I came out of it, I punched him as hard as I could in the face. It was that bad. It was awful. And I would never, ever do it again. Terrible. But kratom, I have never done. It is one of the only popular substances out there right now that is something that really is gaining popularity that I haven't done. I have a friend who has done it. And my understanding from my friend is you can become dependent on it. It is the closest family member that it's going to have is opiates, right? Kratom is something that people use as a painkiller. And my friend said that he thought it was a, sort of a harmless substitute for what our old drug of choice used to be. And he ate it for a period of time and got withdrawals. Like he went into withdrawals without it. And I don't mean like he was uncomfortable or he wished he had it. I'm talking about like withdrawals, like you go through with heroin. Now, I am giving you somebody else's experience, people. Almost always, if you ask me about drugs, I have done it. And I can tell you what it did to me. And if I've done a drug, I've taken the time to study the drug. I just now got information on kratom very, very recently. Somebody on the boat sent me some information on it, and I just started to do a deep dive into this, people. So I will be able to answer questions more intelligently on this substance in the near future, and I'm looking forward to it. But as of right now, I don't want to mislead anybody on anything. I have not done the substance, so I'm not sure. Okay. Pepper Dojo. Excellent question, brother. This is what I'm talking about, right? This is the stuff. This is hard hitting. This brings up a huge topic, Tommy. Why in the world did individuals start eating Tide Pods? This was a stupid challenge that that people did online because they thought they were funny. And oculi mortis. Oddly enough, oculi mortis' name just jit across the entire screen. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Oculi, apparently you're in the house. The Tide Pods challenge, I can't explain this, people. I really can't. Or the teaspoonful of cinnamon or any of these crazy things. Nutmeg was big for a while. People were taking nutmeg because it has hallucinogenic properties. But the Tide Pods thing, I honestly can't answer that with any kind of intelligence whatsoever. But I promise you, people, I'm going to have some answers for you on kratom. I am researching this substance so that I will be able to speak about it intelligently. At this exact moment, all I can tell you is that it acts like a lightweight opiate, and is being used for treating pain. My gut tells me that in the very near future they're going to make it illegal. It's just one of those things that, anytime there's a substance out there that is sold over the counter that people can abuse, that substance is going to go away. And people are most assuredly using and abusing kratom. And here's the thing. If you're taking it the way that they tell you to take it, it's probably not much of an issue. However, who does that, right? I mean, drug addicts don't take things the way they're supposed to take them. If they did, they wouldn't be drug addicts, right? Are you with me on this? Goodness gracious. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Andrew Eats is now on deck. Andrew, lucky I talked for a long time. You got a chance to join us here on the deck of the boat. I could not be any happier. Everybody here, unless you're new, you know who Andrew Eats is. I believe we're on day 51 for Andrew. Andrew saw one of the first episodes that we did here. Back then it was the Tommy Scoville show. And he told his wife, this is it. I'm going to quit drinking. And he said his wife laughed. Not her fault. She laughed because he had said so many times before, this is it, I'm going to quit. And this time it took, people. This time he has remained sober, and his kids are happy about it. Other than Andrew and his kids, I'm the happiest person on the planet that he's fighting the good fight. And the fact that his sobriety date is so close to the age of the boat that I'm telling you, people. Years from now, he's going to say, "Oh, I've been with them so long. When I got sober, it was called the Tommy Scoville Show, right?" Because I can't remember now exactly what did we make, about 3 weeks, right, or 4 weeks as the Tommy Scoville Show before you people came up with the 52 days. Today is day 52. Do you know that's my lucky number, people? 52 is my lucky number. True story. It's very appropriate that you're here today on the live feed, Andrew. 52. Everybody, you see Andrew in the comments section, please give him a virtual pat on the back, a virtual high five. Let this man know you're proud of him. Because I'll tell you what, man, he has earned it. 52 days. 52 days. Mr. Calloway, day 3. If you're still here, get a good look at Andrew. Right? When he said he had 3 days, and we said, it's great. You know, it's a good start. We're proud of you. Well, now he's at 52 of them, and he's not looking back. And you know what? Life is so much better sober, people. It is so much better sober. The most important things in life you cannot concentrate on if you're on drugs. You can't concentrate good on relationships. You can't concentrate well on God. You can't concentrate well on anything that is important if you're addicted to a substance. You can't. The only thing you can concentrate on is that substance, right? That's it. And what could be more important, people, than the top of the food chain? The things that are important in your life. Family, God, right? Spirituality, love. All of those things are supposed to come before anything, right? But they don't come before your substance if you're addicted. I am so happy, Andrew. I really am so happy you're here. God bless you. I'm proud of you, brother. So proud of you, man. I really am. It takes my breath away. Stacy Michaels. Thoughts on CBD. People. He's talking about a substance that they remove from the cannabis plant. CBD comes in a couple of varieties, right? There is CBD that has qualities that can go bang, and then there are CBD that doesn't get you high. There's CBD where it's just you're getting cannabinoids, which by all accounts from doctors are particularly good for human beings and pets. My thoughts on CBD: I take it. I don't know whether or not I am 1,000% sold on all of the benefits that I'm hoping to get out of it. I certainly felt it right out the gate, but I started. For those of you who have followed me on Instagram, back when I was sort of big into Instagram, you remember my hands, right? My hands would swell up. One of the things that really helped out with my hands was CBD. There's a woman on Instagram called the Ganja Queen, and she is a big proponent of CBD. She makes her own tinctures and things out of it, and she was kind enough to send some stuff out to me, and it really got me back in the game in terms of my hands. I was taking both an oral, and I was also taking a cream that she had made that I was using on my hands, and the effects of both of them were, staggering. I really got quite a bit out of it, and I would probably, continue with it, but I don't want anything that has any of the psychoactive properties of marijuana. It's not for me. It's just not something that I want in my life. I'm not bagging on you if that's your thing. I'm not, but it's not for me. You understand? So, that's that. Charlie Layton. He says, I remember someone telling me they used to smoke catnip. They said it gave them a crazy high. Here's the thing, people. There are as many, I don't know what the word is, urban legends when you surround drugs. Whether or not catnip will get you high, I cannot answer that question. What I can tell you is this: there are a string of things out there that you can get some kind of a buzz off of, and I tried a lot of them. I really did. The nutmeg thing. Well, you can hallucinate off nutmeg, but you got to eat an unbelievable amount of it. And what it does to you, like the after effects of what it did to my body. I was young and stupid. This was something that I did last century, right, when I was a youngster. And I wouldn't do it again for money. I'm telling you, I'd rather eat Systroming. I would rather go over to Fiona's house, right, for a big Vegemite platter, then ever go down that road again. There are people that swear up and down that the banana peel, those little annoying little as you peel the banana and you start to eat it, it's got that little filament that hangs off of the side of it. There are people who swear up and down that that is a derivative of PCP and that you can take that out, dry them and smoke them, and that it has these properties that are going to get you. I tried it 8,000 ways growing up. Like I tried when I was in the life, I tried all of that as a little kid, to no avail. I also remember a guy waking me up in college at 3 o'clock in the morning while tripping on acid to tell me that he had been smoking tea and that I wouldn't believe how high I could get him, and that he has learned that he's going to save all of this money because he's never going to have to pay for cannabis again, right? No more pot. I'm smoking tea, and he had this big Doc Grabo, a huge horn-looking pipe that he was smoking out of, and he woke me up to try to get me to smoke tea. I cannot tell you how angry I was at 3 o'clock in the morning to be rousted from bed so that I could smoke some orange pico blend. No sense of humor whatsoever. Oddly enough, while not under the influence of LSD, I felt nothing other than anger. But it could, catnip might do something. All of these things fall under a category of stuff that, there are people still looking for buzzes, and they're going to be looking for buzzes till the end of time, right? Fortunately, I have arrived at a place in my life where, what my drug of choice is today? Kindness. Straight up, love is my drug of choice. Going out of my way to help people. Trying to do everything within my power to ensure that anybody whose lives I can touch, I can try to make sure they don't end up me. Right? And I would like to make sure that as many kids as possible avoid the pitfalls that I fell into. And those two things are my drug of choice. Andrew eats, right? Sending me an email and breaking down the changes in his life. That's my drug of choice. That's how I want to get high for the rest of my life. Plain and simple, So I guess I'm blessed, right? Beyond belief, because not only have I changed my drug of choice to something that's really awesome, but I got a boat full of people to continually bring me that buzz, because you people are striving so hard to make yourselves better people, and you're bringing me along for it. I get to watch it. I get to participate in it, and I get to feel the same excitement that you're feeling as you're getting through, what was a really bad time in your life, and really celebrating what it means to be happy and sober. I get to be there front row center. I don't know if you can think of a better gig. Let me know. I'll try it. Let me see. The big popular drug now with kids around where he lives is vaping. Kids are doing it. Kids are doing everything to get it. I assume that you're referring to nicotine vaping. There are a lot of different products that people can vape now. Even before I went to prison last time, before I got sober, I used to put methamphetamine in my vape. In my vape pipe and my vape pen, and I would vape that. It's something that you can do, and I could walk through the mall doing it. You couldn't smell it. It would only take on the scent of whatever the flavor of the vape was. But I assume you're talking about nicotine. I spoke with somebody yesterday in Australia, and they're making it in Australia. They're actually making it so that you cannot get a vape without a prescription, and kids are buying duffel bags full of it because they know that it's about to become illegal. It's the new smoking. That's all it is. It's I would imagine in the 40s and 50s, right? When our grandparents and then our parents' generation, smoking was so accepted and they didn't realize how bad it was. Everybody smoked. Everybody smoked. And cigarettes were 15 cents a pack or something. So nowadays, that's vaping. That's the new nicotine. That's how people are getting it. And there's also a ton of vaping that is going on with cannabis. Now, people, on the vaping subject, this is important. Do you remember a few years back when everybody was dying from vaping, right? We had 8 kids die, I think it was 8, in about a 1 week period of time. And boy, the value of all of these companies like Juul and some of the other big vaping companies took a beating, right? Their market cap was shrinking because these products were killing these kids. The fact is, people, had nothing to do with why those kids died. Do a little research on this. What happened is this. All of those kids, except one, before they died, admitted to their parents that they had been smoking pot out of canisters for their pens, right? And these were bootleg. They weren't buying this from a vape store. These were guys that were making it. You know, when you buy those products at a distillery, there's a dispensary right down the street from my house. If you were to go in there and buy products, it's not like they're getting made in some huge factory somewhere. These are guys that grow dope and they've got their little setup and they're making it. And they have, guidelines that they got to go through, the FDA or whoever. It may not be the FDA, but there is quality controls to this in order to be sold. Well, if you're a guy that grows dope in a state where it's not legal and you're making this stuff in your basement, there's no way to tell whether or not what you're doing is safe or not. One child who died in that whole little group said that he had never smoked any pot. This was just from Juul. My gut tells me that 7 kids wanted to leave this planet being honest with their parents and one didn't, right? The vaping that you're talking about, the substance that goes in those pens is glycol. It is very similar to the substance that they use in antifreeze. Now, before you freak out, it is a type of glycol that is used every day in food products. So it's not the stuff, the same stuff from antifreeze. It is a food quality glycol, and it is vaporized. That's why they call it a vape, right? And people will say to me, "What is your opinion on cigarettes versus vaping?" If you light something on fire and breathe it into your lungs, right? That's the worst of 2 scenarios. When you vape, the temperature of the stuff that's going into your lungs isn't even half of what is going into your lungs with burning a cigarette. Cigarettes are awful. They're killing you, right? The jury is out on how bad vapes are. My advice would be don't inhale anything into your lungs that you don't have to, right? That would be my advice. But you're going to make your decision. That's something that each individual is going to do. For the love of God, don't let your kids do it. As kids are developing and while we still have control over them, don't let your kids do anything. Seriously, if your decision is, well, pot's not that bad, I'm going to let my 16-year-old do it, then he's going to lose brain cells. Not brain cells, apologize. It's a misquote because they don't kill brain cells. He's going to lose IQ points. This has been documented ad nauseum. Up to 8 points. If a child is using THC during the development, in the late development, right, in the teenage years, they can lose 8 points on your IQ. People, if that doesn't sound like a lot, then you don't understand the IQ concept. 8 points is massive. It's the difference between normal and not too normal. So don't let your kids smoke weed. Seriously, let them do it at 18. Let them go to college and do what college kids do. But when they're under your roof, exert some control. That would be my advice. And that one I feel strongly about. I really do. Hunter Haas says, will I do a 24-hour stream? That's the problem with being Johnny Scoville's little brother. Because Johnny did, I think, a 6-day feed. Right? Johnny sat and did this for 6 days. Or something. Hunter could probably tell you better than I could. I don't remember exactly how long it was. But it was absolutely ridiculous just how long he was on there. You know something? There is an excellent chance that I'm going to drop my call screener off the side of the boat. Yeah, it's coming. My call screener would like to challenge the IQ will drop. These studies, and there are multiple studies that have been done, this does not drop IQs on adults. You will reach a point where that levels and that marijuana at that point isn't going to drop IQs. Yes, this is not Tommy Scoville's opinion, people. Go ahead and Google it. You'll find the studies. And the number is 8 points. The developmental years, we're talking about 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. During those years, chronic pot smoking will absolutely drop your intelligence quotient. No 2 ways about it, people. I'm not making this stuff up. If I tell you something, it's because I have taken the time to read it and research it. You'll notice that there were subjects that I say, look, man, talk to your doctor, right? I can tell you what I know. I'm not going to make stuff up, and I'm not going to tell you anything that I think is going to be less than beneficial. I'm never going to walk you down that road. It's just that it doesn't pay off. So my call screener, step into my office real quick, because you're fired. No, I'm kidding. But absolutely, it will drop IQ points. It's just a stone cold fact. Yes. It does drop. So, back to Hunter Haas. Will I do a 24-hour stream? Not tonight. Would I be willing to do a 24-hour stream? I don't know. If I thought people would stick around and listen to me for 24 hours, I'd probably give it a shot. I don't think you would. I don't think I could keep anybody engaged for 24 hours. I really don't. For me, it wouldn't be that tough. I have a real tough time sleeping. But for the rest of you, you got to go to sleep at some point. I suppose if I did it long enough, then I would catch the different places. Believe it or not, folks, if you knew how many people on this boat come from other countries, we really are spreading out. Off the top of my head, I know we've got the UK covered. We've got. We definitely have people all over the Netherlands. Like that whole little region over there is just covered, right? And many different places over there. We've got New Zealand and Australia. We've got the Philippines, Scotland, Ireland. Yeah, Canada. A ton of people in Canada. A lot of people, like I said, in Australia. Well, a lot of people in Australia minus one, because as I said, my Australian call screener, right off the boat, getting dropped. No, I'm kidding. It's really putting in the extra effort, so I'm just kidding. People, we have been going at this, let's see, about 2.5 hours, which, I don't know, it's fairly impressive. Not that it's not impressive that I could talk that long, people. I could talk a pit bull off a milk bone, but the fact that you people have been kind enough to stay with me means the absolute world to me, people. Number one, I do love this give and take. I love the ability to answer questions for you. But more importantly than that, really the biggest thing is that this is getting us a lot of time toward that 4,000 hours. And the quicker we get there, people, the quicker we have a business partner who really, really has a vested interest in pushing us as a product to the rest of the world. So I would recommend to everybody that really wants to support the boat, watch the videos. If there's one you haven't seen, people, watch it, right? It's not just great information, because it is. I have culled this from the smartest people in the world. And I'm funny looking, if nothing else, right? So it's a fun way to get the information. You don't have to go out and Google all this and spend your time reading. I have sort of organized it into one place. And from here on out, I've got a great hat. I'm probably going to be wearing less colorful stuff. Somebody pointed out to me that the white and the dark blue are quite navy. Or quite captainish. And I think I might stick with that for a while, people. I think I kind of like that. And I got enough white shirts and enough dark shirts, oddly enough from Polo, that I think I could pull that off for a while. So I'm feeling pretty careful about that. As it turns out, my call screener has put on some form of life vest. Pretty prepared for me tossing over the edges. So apparently the flotation device is in place. So kind of ruined all that for me. There's always a loophole, people. You think you got it made? Nope, not so much. Always a loophole. All right, people. That is about the end of it. I think it's been a pretty good run, don't you think? People, if there's anything you would like to say to the captain before we call this a night, you better get on it, because the clock, she is a ticking. I want to thank everybody for coming here, especially when you come here assuming that you're going to see me interview Mark Wages. I got so many emails from so many people that were so looking forward to me. They want to hear Mark's story. They realize how much Mark is doing here on the lifeboat for everybody involved. He's doing an awful lot to help us, and they want to hear his story. So tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, we're going to go over to Mark's channel, unless you hear something different, right? We're going to be heading over to Mark's channel. And we're going to do the interview over there. I did get a text from Mark. I'll tell you what, people. I'm going to tell you in the morning exactly what's going on. If Mark has this figured out, because while I was doing this, I got a text from Mark, and since I did, and I didn't have time to read it, we're going to have to see exactly what it says. But one way or the other, people, we're going to get that interview done because it means the world to me. This isn't just a crew member, people. This guy's, he's in the captain's quarters. You know what I'm saying? He's doing so much for this mission. And look, he's got a very successful channel. And he's taking time away from his family and from his channel to make this dream a reality. And I love the guy, man. I really do. I can't tell you just how fast he has become a very, very good friend of mine. And just a good guy all the way around. The people that have come over here from Wages World know what I'm talking about. He is absolutely as solid a guy as you ever come across. So we're going to get a chance to hear that interview. You have my word. Now, to everyone who has been here all night long and stuck around with me on this, I want to thank you. Nothing whatsoever is going to happen here at the bottom of the screen. That I can promise you. I would like to give a special shout out to my call screener. Seriously, above and beyond the call. I suppose I could give my call screener a really odd name, like Schnurdly, right? Isn't that what Rush Limbaugh called his call screener? That way I could keep replacing the call screener, but you still have the same person. Everyone on the boat, at least in the corporate side, is named Linda. But that's not, that just happened to work out that they were all named Linda. It's not that I'm calling them all Linda. It's just kind of an odd phenomenon. Kind of happened over at Chase the Heat with a Karen. Not sure what that's about. But so my call screener, Linda, you're the best, in spite of all of the fun that you had picking on me this evening. If you knew, people, how often I almost read something silly because Linda thinks that she's funny. But thank you so much, people, for coming here. Flaming Jackson, I love you. Who else have we got? Let's see. Okay, we've got Fiona's on here. Yeah. Miss Moore, thank you. Fee Crispin. God bless all of you. I really appreciate you, Flaming Jackson. I love you. Dojo, thank you so much. All of you, people. Even Mark Wages with the toothpaste. People, thanks for coming out. I promise you, Wages World, there's my man. All right, people, I will be back on the boat tomorrow. You have my word. Why? Because this is what I do, people. It's my boat, right? I'm signing off. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. This is the Lifeboat Live. Thank you so much, people. Have a great night. Boom.